Good afternoon. The City of Parksville recognizes the people of the Coast Salish Nations and their traditional territory upon which we gather with gratitude. I'd like to call the public hearing for Monday, January 19th, 2026 to order at this time. This public hearing is being convened pursuant to Section 464 of the Local Government Act to consider the proposed zoning and development amendment bylaw 2025, number 2000.155, which in short, just to make sure you are all at the right place and you want for the address is of the development is 1180 Resort Drive. And it's in general terms, the purpose of the proposed text amendment is to amend the commercial premises floor area provisions and redefine the unit density calculation for the proposed development at 1180 Resort Drive, which is well underway, as you probably all know. So at this public hearing, any person present who believes that his or her interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaws shall be given an opportunity to be heard on the matters contained in the proposed bylaws. However, it is important that all who speak at this public hearing restrict their remarks to matters contained in the bylaws, and it is my responsibility as chair of this hearing to ensure that all remarks are so restricted. Those of you who wish to speak concerning this proposed bylaw should, at the appropriate time, commence your address to the council and public hearing by clearly stating your name and address for the record. Then you will give us the benefit of your views concerning the proposed bylaw. It should be noted this public hearing is being recorded and web streamed live, and the recording will be posted to the website. The main function of council members is to listen to the views of the public. It is not a function of council at this time, this public hearing, to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw with individual citizens. Everyone who deems their interest in property to be affected shall be given the opportunity to be heard at this meeting. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views known. If you wish to provide a written submission to be included in the record of the public hearing, you must hand in that submission to the corporate officer prior to the close of that part of the public hearing dealing with the bylaw you're speaking to. Once that part of the public hearing has been adjourned, council is not able to review any or receive any further information from public on that matter. During a public hearing, people sometimes become enthusiastic or emotional. That's my favorite part. Regardless of whether you favor or oppose any particular application or argument, please refrain from applause or other expressions of emotion. Restraint enables others whose views may or may not coincide with your own to exercise their rights to express their views, and enables all views expressed to be heard in a setting that is as impartial as possible. For the bylaw, there will be 3 calls for speakers. There will be a 2-minute time limit for each speaker if required. And if you have already spoken during the first call, we ask that you refrain from speaking again until everyone has had at least one opportunity to speak. After you've spoken, we ask that you follow staff direction and return to your seat or exit the council chambers to the atrium if you do not have a seat and you wish to leave. I will now ask the corporate officer to introduce the only item on the agenda, bylaw 2000.155. Ms. Weeks, if you would, please.
Thank you. So this afternoon, there's one item on the agenda, Zoning and Development Amendment Bylaw 2025, number 2000.155. So in general terms, the purpose of the proposed text amendment is to amend the commercial premises floor area provisions and refine the unit density calculation for the proposed development at 1180 Resort Drive. Hard copies of the staff reports and related information respecting the subject amendment bylaws have been available for public examination online and at the City Hall located at 100 Jensen Avenue East since September 4th, 2025. As of 10 a.m. this morning, Monday, January 19th, 12 total submissions were received in response to this application, with 8 individual signatories in support, 1 in opposition, and 1 that did not specify clearly either support or opposition. Duplicate or multiple submissions from the same individual are counted only once, either in support or in opposition.
Thank you, Ms. Weeks. So We're going to start off the zoning and development amendment bylaw 2025, number 2000.155. To invite anyone who considers their interest in property to be affected by the proposed bylaw to come forward to the microphone. We moved it over to the podium here, so you don't have to worry about sitting down. And the microphone is already on as you approach there. I'll ask for your name and address when you get there, and there you'll be given 2 minutes if needed to speak your opinion. And the timer's on the wall there, the one right beside the screen there. That will be timing you as you get up here. So welcome and thank you for joining us today. Most appreciative. Good democratic participation is always welcome. So thank you for showing up, taking time out of your day to join us today. So I'll ask for the first person or the first time, anyone who considers their interest to come to the microphone and give me your name and address and your opinion, please. There you go. Welcome.
My name is Elaine Lefebvre. My address is 284 Chestnut Street. Mr. Mayor and councillors, I understand that Primex Investments wants to amend the zoning and development bylaw to allow for an 18,000 plus square foot grocery store, which is a pretty large footprint for this small area. And what will this grocery store be? At a previous council meeting in September 2025, the representative for Primex Investments spoke rather vaguely about this. And when I recently checked the city's website to see what store they had in mind, I could not find anything specific. Is it a smaller sized Costco or Superstore or similar? The public does not know. And this store can make a big difference to the amount of traffic it attracts. If the developer wants a larger store, part of a chain or otherwise, it is because they want to attract many more shoppers in order to be profitable. And this means the driving public, not the walking public. Related to this point, I also noted at the September council meeting that in support of this amendment, some of you mentioned that people who live in this area, mostly Craig Bay residents, would welcome this store and be willing to walk to it to do their shopping instead of driving into downtown Parksville. And there was even mention of the subsequent environmental benefit. Ideally, this would be great, but this is not the way things usually work. The only walkers I see in Craig Bay are the dog walkers, and I do not expect this to change. Craig Bay residents will drive to this location as they do all other locations, especially when it comes to loading up on possibly cheaper groceries, which also means that more traffic will be coming the other way over the Orange Bridge if there is any chance of cheaper products, which all sounds very competitive, but there are other considerations like a traffic fiasco.
Elaine, I'm going to give you just enough time to finish off your paragraph. And if you don't finish, you can come back on a second time if you have more to go.
Okay, I have one paragraph left.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Sure.
At present, we have a lot of heavy traffic moving through our city. You would think that most vehicles would be taking Highway 19, but from what I have observed, this is not the case. They are taking 19A, the heavy trucks, trade vehicles, pickup trucks, and many others, driving back and forth on this long stretch of road, always in a hurry, and with pedestrians often running across the highway and tailgaters taking the chance that they can brake in time. Considering the proposed amendment and what I think will be predictable traffic consequences if passed, I have to wonder why we even need a bigger grocery store in this location. In my opinion, this proposed grocery store next to a crowded highway is a disaster waiting to happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine. Next, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Andy McNally. I'm a retired transportation engineer, and I live at 1401 Crofton Place in Craig Bay. My concern is that I haven't seen any transportation analysis done of this proposal. The best that I can sort of think about in trying to look at it is to look at something similar. And something similar, I think, is Thrifties. I don't know the sizes of the proposed store versus Thrifties, but I do know Thrifties has very good access. They've got access. They've got 4 lanes that come in and 4 lanes that go out on all the surrounding roads. So it functions quite well. This proposal, I only see 1 road in and out. And I think that's a big problem. And I think what has to be done is, for example, extend the roadway on the Northwest Bay roadway, extend that to connect to Resort Drive. That would help. You'd have at least 2 accesses, 2 lanes of access in each direction. So that's my concern.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Next, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Wood. My address is 1351 Gambier Place in Craig Bay. Very recently, we have a second home in Victoria, and very recently at that location, a new smaller grocery store opened up. And we've talked to the owner of that store a number of times, my wife and I. And he tells us that the size of it was 18,000 square feet, which is compatible with the size that's proposed here. And I would put it, from my knowledge of the other stores in town, it's a little bit smaller, I would say, than the Thrifties. It's smaller than all the main grocery stores that you see here in town. They're a little bit more spread out. This is it's a no frills store, the one in Victoria. And it's well equipped, well stocked, and it seems that 18,000 square feet is quite, good for, I think, what they want to do there. I do have some concerns about access and parking. I think there's some issues with the 2 lanes coming into town, across the Orange Bridge and all the rest of that. I think something has to be upgraded in that way to allow for better traffic flow. And I'm also concerned about the grocery store itself. I've seen a proposed drawing that renders, certain parking spaces in front of the store and in amongst the other commercial buildings there. And it looks like it's fairly small to me from what I can see. So I would be concerned of both of those issues, the traffic flow, the safety of access to and from, and the volume, increase is going to happen. That's for sure. And I think we're pretty, at rush hour times, we're at a pretty close maximum now with the traffic along there. But the store itself at 18,000 feet, no frills, worked really good, I think, in Victoria. The size is the same, and I think it would work very well there. I support it. One issue I have, though, is you talk about walkers. We're in Craig Bay, and we're very concerned about walking along the highway. That's really the only good access to get from Craig Bay to this location of the grocery store. I think some provision needs to be made for walking access, and we would certainly, encourage that to happen, and we would use that ourselves to get to that location rather than use our car.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Any other first-time speakers? Oh, Tammy, I thought you were getting up to speak.
No, people were saying they can't hear, so.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay, thanks, Tammy. Well, you can speak anyways while you're on. Oh, come on. Thank you. Is there any other first-time speakers? Is there any other first-time speakers? Okay, so okay, somebody, thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Ranson. I live at 1045 Forgotten Drive in San Periel. I'd sort of like to take your attention to the bigger picture of Parksville and the vision for Parksville, because currently we have 4 main grocery stores and we have 3 or 4 secondary grocery stores as well. And a lot of residents go to Costco in Nanaimo and Superstore in Nanaimo. There's a lot of shopping around. People are looking for competitive prices, and things like the natural food store, looking for niche items as well. Parksville is incredibly well served with grocery stores. For a population of about 14,000, the planners would generally advise 2 grocery stores. We have 4 to 7 grocery stores, depending on how you count them because of the size. So when you do the math, we've got a lot of grocery stores. And I think they only survive because we have a huge tourism population as well. I mean, if you hit Thrifty Foods at 5 o'clock on a Tuesday during July and August, you're going to be waiting for quite a long time. So it would seem that they're very competitive. However, we do have a finite population and we do have a very competitive system already because there's 5 grocery stores. What could happen here is we could cannibalize the grocery stores that we already have. These are your business taxpayers. They're your loyal organizations within the community. And so some of the impacts there could be market share loss for them. And you might not care. You might go, yeah, big public organization, maybe their share price will take a hit. But these are the people who sponsor our skating, our badminton, our baseball, our soccer teams. They put on community events, things like parades. So these are very valuable partners to Parksville already. By opening up a large grocery store at the south end of town, you may cannibalize that and lose those loyal businesses that we already have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Heather. Any other first-time speakers? Okay, I see one coming down. Thank you. Good afternoon, sir, and welcome.
Mayor and Council, appreciate the opportunity to speak to this particular issue here. My name is Norman Patterson, residence 843 Gateson Street, Parksville, BC, and my wife and I have been residents here since 1989. We've seen a tremendous amount of change in the area, a tremendous amount of growth in the area, and we are going to continue to see that change and growth in this area. People are coming here. We cannot stop them. We can't put a border up, can't restrict the number of ferries, as long as they keep them operating. And so we are going to see an increased population here. That end of town is certainly going to have growth. I'll remind everybody that this project has already been proposed, passed, which includes the multifamily units and also an existing grocery store. So the only thing we're asking here to do, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is just increase the size of the grocery store. Like you say, we've seen a tremendous amount of growth here because people have come before, when we came here, but the only grocery store was K&R at Wembley Mall. And then the one that was downtown in Parksville. Every time I go into any one of these grocery stores, I do see quite a few people shopping in there. So I think we do have the amount of traffic that would support these stores. And the other thing I think about these stores, if we put another retail unit in there, retail groceries, it will increase the competition in the area and maybe get us, all of us, some lower grocery prices. I would think that the people that are involved in this particular project may be somebody who is most likely going to be well involved with the community and supporting all sorts of things within the community. So I think in the end, what it'll also do if it serves that portion of town, or south end of town, what it'll also do, because I know we're looking at the traffic improvements around town, and if we can keep the people from below the Orange Bridge, Samparai, Craig Bay and everything they got shopping there, they're not going to be on the highway going into town. So in backwards way, it will actually work on reducing some of the traffic into town. Like I said, we've been here a long time, and I think we have to be prepared to let the community grow. I would think that this particular project we have here has probably been on the boards for quite a number of years. It's, you know, you cannot decide to do something like this and then 3 weeks later you get the permits and you start building it. It's a 5-year project, for which it is private enterprise money. And it's not, city isn't paying for this, the private enterprise is paying for this. If they've done their studies and considered that we need this extra amount of square footage on this particularly already approved plot in the city to build it, they're the ones who have done the research. Let them do it. There'll be jobs and we'll be shopping.
Thank you, Norm. Yeah, thank you for your comments. Any other first-time speakers, please? Any other first-time speakers, please? Come on down.
My name is Lucy Daigle. I live at 264 McVickers, and I think the grocery prices are way too high in Parksville. I think a lot of people go to other, like Nanaimo, to get reasonably priced groceries. And so I'd like to know how exactly that decision is going to be made about what grocery store ends up being there. And I think that's it.
That's okay.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Lucy. Any other first-time speakers? Okay.
Not a good speaker. Gabrielle Wood, I live at 1351 Gambier Place in Parksville, Craig Bay.
Right.
I'm the other half of this person here who said, you know, Victoria, and we had a no frills open up on the main floor of the building in a high-rise area. And it's a walking town, right? It's downtown. So it's very different than this. So what we need here to make that work is more walking paths. We have a whole big development that goes past the water, who knows where. They all love to walk. They all come walk at Craig Bay. We at Craig Bay love to walk. We're not just dog walkers, because I don't even have a dog, but I walk every day. And I walk all the way to Rathtrevor Park, and I walk all around the neighborhood. So if we had better pathways towards the Orange Bridge, if we had, you can think of all the people that come every summer with their trailers, with their little cabins or visiting people or whatever, they all need to shop. We like to shop daily. My husband's a chef. We like to cook. So we don't want to drive across the Orange Bridge every day or two to get fresh food. It would be perfect to have it closer. We'd love to have safe walking to that location. And so in my opinion, it's a perfect idea to bring this community together that's over there on the other side of this bridge. That's about all I have to say. Thank
That's
you.
great. Thanks, Gabriel. And sir, I saw another one about the second row back. Yes, go ahead. Come ahead, sir. Yeah. We'll hold your space for you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the hearing. My name is Sam Friketich, and I live in Parksville Mobile Home Park, which is very close to this proposed area. My concern is traffic, and I don't know what will be done to alleviate that at this time. I think a gentleman previously described some of the issues and a possible solution. I think my main concern is traffic. And for as far as shopping is concerned, yeah, it'll be close by because we could easily walk to that area. My other concern, however, is on a broader scale, and that is the use of water. And I know Councillor Mary Beal said at one point that, you know, we take care of that. But I just want to add that into this conversation that, you know, how will the supply of water be provided for all of the residences and the condos, et cetera, that are being built in this area? But traffic. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Sam. Thank you. Is there any other first-time speakers? Any other first-time speakers? Any other first-time speakers? Once, twice, third. Is there any other second-time speakers calling for the first time, second-time speakers, or first if you want to get up here now? Is there anyone else in the room that wants to speak further to this situation, this development process? Come on down, sir. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Dale Monte, and I thank you for this meeting. I live in Parksville RV Park between the Orange Bridge and the new development going in. And I know this is not really your bailiwick, but in the summertime without the development, we have to spend upwards of 5 to 10 minutes to get on the main road. And I'm all for the development. I'm all for the grocery store because we gotta grow, but we need to have some infrastructure. And I know that that's the RDN's problem. So I just remind everybody that give the RDN health. Thank you.
Thanks, Dale. We do regularly. Thank you. Any other comments? Anybody in the house would like to speak to this development process? Go ahead, sir.
It's Mark Wood again, 1351 Gambier Place.
Mark.
The issue of competitive pricing and so on between grocery stores, to me, it's an advantage for shoppers if another store would open up. I've been in all the grocery stores in Parksville now, and I've never seen a shortage of customers. You're lined up usually at the tills, you're lined up to get in to buy your groceries. And another store in town to create another aspect of competition, I think would be good for the system. And we also serve not just Parksville, it's not a finite population. You look at a city like Qualicum Beach, for example, they've got really one store. So 9 times out of 10, everybody from Qualicum comes to Parksville to do their shopping. And the same with the surrounding areas of Arrington. And I've even talked to people waiting in line at the grocery store that have driven all the way from Alberni to get into here to shop. So another store, I think, would be a real advantage. And like I said, that 18,000 square foot, you can get a decent sized, well-equipped store at that size based on the one that we've experienced in Victoria. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. And we also heard that you're a chef, and just let you know, we know where you live. Thanks, Mark. Any other speakers to this development proposal? Going once, Going twice. We're done. Thank you so much for everybody showing up here today. I truly appreciate all your participation and your very kind behavior. Thank you so much. You win the award. If I had cookies to give out, everyone would get a cookie, but I showed up a little too late at the bakery. So just regarding the public hearing, the correspondence received by noon on Friday, January 16th has been logged and made available online and in hard copy for public viewing prior to the public hearing. All of your comments that you've said today have been noted, duly noted. All other correspondence received after noon on January 16th up to the adjournment of this public hearing has been collected and will now be received and considered by council and will form part of the public record. This correspondence shall be made available for viewing after the public hearing as soon as practical. So do I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation that all correspondence received regarding the proposed zoning and development amendment bylaw 2025, number 2000155 be received? I move a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Gore. All those in favor? Thank you. It carries unanimous. Thank you. I'd like to ask for a motion at this time to terminate the public hearing for zoning and development amendment bylaw 2025, number 2000.155. Moved by Councillor Martin, moved by, seconded by Councillor Bill. All those opposed? Or all those in favor? I just wanted to, did you have a question? Yeah, if you want a discussion or sure, let's, why not? Okay. No questions or discussion. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you again for showing up, folks. We got another council meeting. If you want to hang around, there's no place I'd rather be. This is where it's happening in This is where it's happening in Parksville today. I'll just wait for the crowd to leave if I could first. Sir. Hello, good afternoon, sir. If you could please sit down. Sir, if you would please respect the place you're in. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the January 19th regular meeting of council. The city of Parksville recognizes the people of the Coast Salish Nations and their traditional territory upon which we gather with gratitude. And when we have a short commercial here, as a reminder, the Parksville Fire Department is taking part in a charity hockey game against the Oceanside Generals on Friday, January 30th at Oceanside Place. Proceeds from the game will benefit ALS Canada and the Wounded Warriors Canada associations. Thank you. There you go. That'll be a fun event. Council, we have the consent agenda up first. If I could ask for a mover and a seconder for the minutes of the council meeting held December 15th, 2025, and also approval of the council meeting agenda as noted today. A mover seconder, moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Grens. Any errors, omissions, or comment? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. It's unanimous. We have one delegation on the agenda today from Boys Girls Club Central Vancouver Island, the annual report for the Child Care Spaces funding. A presentation from C. Sujiyama and Ali Legay of the annual report to Council for Child Care Spaces funding at the Jensen Center at 132 Jensen Avenue East. I believe we're attending remotely. I see you up on the screen. Do you want to give me first a microphone check to make sure we get things going before we have 10 minutes allocated for your presentation today? Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon.
That's good. And if you would too,
Corey.
Yeah, it was just a little like, okay, that's fine. We near better. And can we adjust the volume on that just a little bit? Okay. Give me a 1, 2, 3 check, please.
1, 2, 3 check.
There you go. Okay, thanks, Ali. Yeah, great.
Corey, can you check as well? I think you're still muted.
Corey, can you?
1, 2, 3 check.
Loud and clear, Corey. Thank you.
Perfect.
Go ahead on
Right.
Ali or Corey, who's ever starting off.
Ali, are you able to pull the presentation up?
Yeah, here we go. Hello, hello. Lovely to see you all again. All right. I brought Corey with me this time, so very excited to have you all meet our new executive director, Corey Sugiyama. He's newer to you. He's been with us for a very, very long time, longer than me with BGC. So he gets to take it away to start.
Perfect. Thank you, Ali. So good afternoon, Mayor O'Brien and members of City Council. Thank you first off for virtually hosting BGC Central Vancouver Island today to present our annual update on the Jensen Center, or as we refer to it as the Parksville Child and Family Center location. As Ali mentioned, my name is Corey Sugiyama, and I have the pleasure of representing BGC Central Vancouver Island as the Executive Director. And with me today is my colleague, Ali Legg, Director of Operations and HR, whom you met at the last presentation of the Council in 2025. Firstly, I'd just like to remind you of what clubs do. So across Canada, BGC Canada has 635 individual club locations, 15 within BGC CBI alone. And as you can imagine, there is a variety of programs and services at any one unique club location. Specific to the Parksville location that we're speaking about today, in addition to our before and after school care programming, we provide early years programming, summer camps, transportation and out trips, and youth programs which integrate a number of BGC Canada curriculums that address both mental health, healthy relationship, and also encourages youth leadership and job readiness for youth in the community. We also use our Parksville location to host agency training days, staff meetings, and more recently our strategic planning session that we had there over the weekend. So BGC Central Vancouver Island adopts the mission and vision as set forth by BGC Canada. Our programming is intentionally designed to deliver on our mission by providing safe and supportive spaces where children and youth can access opportunities they may not otherwise have. Through inclusive, community-based programs, we work to reduce barriers, foster positive relationships, and build confidence and skills young people need to succeed. In addition to our mission and vision, we focus operationally and strategically on ensuring we are meeting our core values of belonging, respect, encouragement and support, working together, and speaking out. No better example of this was the collaborative and supportive nature of our $10 a day childcare applications, where BGC CBI worked with the support of the city to bring affordable childcare to the Parksville area. This was celebrated just last year in 2025 during a site visit with MLA Higginson, which Mayor O'Brien was also in attendance for. So just a snapshot of who we serve. Across our entire service area, our programs mainly serve children aged 6 to 12, reflecting a strong demand for out-of-school care in the Central Vancouver Island area. Early childhood programs for 0 to 5 account for 28%, supporting early years interventions in families. Youth 13 to 18 make up about 12% of our individuals served, focusing on leadership and life skills, while the 19 plus on the graph represent 3% through our targeted parenting programs, which are facilitated online and are available to parents and caregivers across Vancouver Island. Some annual stats. So as mentioned, BGC CBI has 15 club locations between Ladysmith and the Comox Valley, servicing the Nanaimo and Parksville in between. You saw a breakdown of persons served in the previous slide, and we are proud to highlight the 1,329 unique individuals served organizationally in 2024. Over 100 of those alone were in Parksville. We are just working on our 2025 year-end stats, which will be available at the next presentation. BGC CBI has grown significantly in the last 2 years, led primarily by the $10 a day locations, and at any point currently employs approximately 165 staff. These are primarily full-time roles, but we also employ part-time employees, many of whom are attending post-secondary education. Additionally, we track healthy meals and snacks. This takes into account not only the food provided during programming, but also reflects holiday hampers, which are distributed to our BGC families in need, thanks to the partnership with local food banks and businesses, grants, and individual sponsors. Before I hand it off to Ali, I just want to note that much of the content covered and other information can be found in the annual report, which is available on our website. These annual reports are presented at our AGM, which will be coming up again in June of 2026.
Thanks, Corey. I'm going to get into a bit more specifics for you regarding our Jensen Center. This is a snapshot just, of our highlights for the year. As you may note, launching our $10 a day programs at Parksville was one of our highlights in our 2024-2025 annual year. We were very excited to be able to bring those programs into this community. All right. As Corey mentioned, again, the Jensen Center, currently we have our childcare programming. So we have 12 infant toddler spaces, 25 3 to 5 daycare spaces, 54 out of school care spaces, 20 half-day preschool programs, program spaces, as well as our youth programming, family fun nights, staff professional development days, and community events. Most recently, we held our staff training day in September, and we were fortunate enough for a lovely bylaw worker to come and take this great picture of us outside the Jensen Center. We also have had some community events, which you may have noticed as you're leaving, out in the backyard and in the facility. And of course, there's a lovely picture here of you, Mayor O'Brien, with us when we received our $10 a day funding officially. So for us, the Jensen Center has really given us an opportunity to bring events to BGC in a very professional way. We are very lucky to have this space. And most recently, we held our annual strategic planning, which included members of BGC Canada and our board, who came in for a 2-day session to look forward to the future for the next 3 to 5 years. We also received our $10 a day funding. That contract is a 2-year contract, and I wanted to note it started on March 1st of 2025, and it again will go till 2027 with the hopes of renewal. I'm not going to get into too many specifics, but I love to throw a good slide in about our youth programs. It's something that we're really focusing on as we move forward. Youth programs in the Oceanside area are plentiful, but still seem to have some room for growth. Currently, we offer 1 to 2 nights, and we're looking to, again, grow those in the future with partnerships from BGC Canada, different grants, as well as opportunities municipally and regionally. Facility rentals, which I know is a big highlight when we come to these meetings. So we're still going strong, still offering to the community. We are in conversation to increase RDN access for RDN time after Craig Street Commons. Programming had been reduced. As you are aware, we held our your annual event of Cookies and Carols, huge success. We also had our Christmas market, the wedding show, and many, many more in the last few months. We continue to have rentals 6 to 7 days a week, and those include partnerships with the school district, the RDN, and the Oceanside Volleyball Youth Group. Before, I just want to make sure that we didn't have a lot for you today, nothing too interesting or overly exciting in comparison to last year when we were all on pins and needles about $10 a day. I do have a lovely video about who we are and what we do that comes directly from the kiddos we serve. I wanted to make sure that the sound, you're able to hear the sound.
Can you help?
Can you hear it?
Today we're at our end of summer barbecue. Can you help? We will be interviewing our out-of-school BGC clubs about their favorite part of summer. Great! Hi, what's your favorite part about club?
It is playing and playing with my friends. Go to the pool. Having worms and dirt.
Big game. We had all the kids pull it together. It was a little squirrely at times, but we managed to pull it the dub. We're still undefeated. Go Bears!
I get to meet new friends and I get to hang out with them a lot.
Favorite part of working at BGC is probably all the kids and the staff that I work with.
I like that we get to go on field trips.
Favorite part about working with BGC is making connections and a community and having fun with the kids.
I like the barbecue.
I mean, I like kind of all of it. Like the social life team was really good. I can make friends really easily. Yeah.
My favorite is going bowling.
The thing I like about BGC is all the amazing people that work for BGC and the change that it creates for our community.
It's too much. Too much. Swimming.
Field trips and all the stuff. We get to do field trips and it's like having a play date with all my friends.
Having fun and playing with friends.
Seeing the leaders.
The leaders, who's your favorite?
Sam.
Watching not only children, youth, and kiddos of all sizes grow up to be amazing leaders like yourselves, but also the young adults that work here and stay and help and support our programs.
Playing in the water bouncy castles. Like, it's when we like to do activities, like when it includes like the whole club, you're not excluding anybody.
I get to come to work and have tons of fun all day.
My favorite part of BGC is the community and hanging out with all of you guys.
I like BGC.
Hey Leah, what are you looking forward to as being a volunteer at the BGC? I'm looking forward to being helpful and being there for kids like the leaders were for me.
Opportunity. Changes.
Everything.
All right. Thank you all. Opportunity changes everything, and we appreciate the opportunities that you have given us for partnership with the City of Parksville. Questions, comments?
Well, that video was certainly worth it. That just told it all, Ellie. That was amazing. Thanks. There's a lot of smiles in the audience right now, I can tell you. Ellie and Corey, thank you so much for your presentation. We're very appreciative for the fact that BGC has chosen our Parksville community to increase and be a very integral part of our social fabric. You are a big part. You're changing lives in an amazing way. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for being here. Any comments or questions from council? Councillor Gore, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Good to see you again, Ellie. Thank you for the presentation. My guess is that you folks annually present to the council. Is it part of the contract that you have with us?
Yeah.
You need to, okay. I think it's the same old question, and you briefly touched on the numbers, but if you can give me the 91 spaces that are allocated to BGC to fill, how many of those are filled of the 91?
So we have 91 full-time spaces, and then we added an additional 20 preschool program spaces. Of those, currently we are at 89%. So each program has a different enrollment. We are at 100% of out-of-school care spaces, about 96% of 3 to 5 year old spaces, and 100% of infant toddler spaces. So those are the full-time. The 3 to 5 spaces that are currently vacant are being held for those in the infant toddler program as they grow in the next few months, which is part of the daycare progression. We ensure that those children who we are already serving can continue through our programs whenever possible. Where we're struggling is with our preschool programs. The feedback from the community is that half-day preschool, although we are a 5-day-a-week half-day preschool, it's not something that the community needs at this time. We're looking to grow again and reach out and continue enrollment, but we've seen this over time and at other locations as well. Preschool does take a little bit longer to get going, and because we just added it opening this September, we're hoping in the next couple of years we'll see that enrollment grow substantially. So overall, we're very happy with our enrollment, and it now becomes a game of who can access over time. It'll be a little bit harder.
Follow up, Councillor Gore.
Thank you. Thank you, Ali. And as you probably are aware, with the closure of the Craig Street Commons, and hearing you, looks like you folks are quite busy already. So you may even have longer wait times if something is not able to fill that gap. Are you folks prepared for that? More people reaching out to BGC?
Yeah, so we have we do our wait list online, and it allows us to reach out, every few months, engage with those that are on the wait list. They still receive updates from us. They have the ability to connect so that they can access spaces when they become available. I would love more space. We would all love more space. It is the biggest challenge in the childcare industry at this time. If we were able to access more licensed space that we could license, we could run more infant toddler programs and potentially more 3 to 5 year old space programs. But again, from what we've heard from the community, part-time programming is not as desirable. So we would need the ability to run those full-day programs.
Thank you. Any other comments? Go ahead, Councillor Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Ali, for the presentation. I had a question about staffing. I know that from conversations with other daycare providers, childcare providers, that finding and maintaining recruitment and maintaining staffing can be a challenge. How are you finding, what's the situation with in that regard?
We are very fortunate. We are fully staffed. We occasionally have, 1 or 2 vacancies come up throughout the year. As, Corey mentioned, some of our staff are attending post-secondary, they move on. We've seen a few staff actually moving off the island because of the cost of living and their inability to access affordable housing. But for us, we're very proud of our employee value proposition. We offer an additional paid week of vacation to start. So 3 weeks paid vacation to start for all of our full-time employees. We also have 10 sick days. With the $10 a day contract, this was initially reduced, and we were able to reinstate that just recently in the past couple of weeks. So we're actually very excited about that. Our staff also have a paid week off during the holidays for cleaning prep in September, and then over Christmas just to be with their families. So that we're really excited about that as well. These benefits matter to the community, and it matters to us. So with the added benefits, we're able to keep our staff team full, and we haven't had issues with recruitment so far, more recently.
And I just want to add, from an internal retention standpoint, we very much try to promote from within at BGC. Myself and Ali as sort of key examples of that, but that's something that we are working on to create that succession planning that allows us to not only meet current needs, but growth in the Central Vancouver Island as the needs themselves grow as well.
Follow up, go ahead, Councillor Meehan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And that's really great news about the staffing and the retention and all of that. That's really congratulations. Hats off to you for that regard. I also have a question about rentals. My understanding is that if people are wanting to rent some space, that goes through, I believe, someone in the Nanaimo office. Is that correct? That works. And I just wonder, I have been hearing some concerns that you may not be aware of this, that there have been some issues around accessibility when people rent space, and it's not the daycare now, it's not the childcare. So what's the best way to resolve any issues that people might have regarding rental and issues? Like I said, I've heard some issues around accessibility, or that people have it maybe in the evening or maybe on a weekend. The accessible washroom is actually locked. So I don't know if there's a breakdown in communication or how that works. So any advice that you can give would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, sorry, Corey. Do you want to go first? Go ahead.
I was gonna go ahead.
So we do have people in Nanaimo and in Parksville that support rentals. Some of the accessibility comes from the building being rented. So we've gotten feedback that people, aren't able to rent, and that is because it's already booked. And we try hard to ensure those that are renting are directly serving our community, so have direct impact on the community, such as the RDN. As well as, even, cookies and carols, or the Christmas markets, or the all in white wedding show. So things that are coming that our community is wanting to access. The second piece is that we do, no matter what you do, and how many, instructions, or all of our renters get a very clear instruction how they access the building. There are always going to be challenges. There are challenges accessing certain points or not being able to find certain keys. And we really rely on the renters that currently access using the system appropriately, but challenges happen. One of our biggest concerns has been keys, and we are in conversation with, the city, and different funding opportunities to look at getting a fob system that would support accessing the building more easily. But we're open to suggestion.
Thank you. Any other comments, Council? Go ahead, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just a comment. When we were way back, when we were talking about the Boys and Girls Club coming, I did look into the organization myself, and I felt it would be secure for us to do this. It was wise to allow a reputable association do this for us. And thank you for today to affirm what you're doing, because, you can take these things and decide you're going to have an organization like yours, and then could have problems. And this is just wonderful news today. And thank you both for your presentations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate the feedback.
No further questions, council? Okay, once again, thanks again for your presentation, Corey and Ali. Nice to see you all again. And I'm sure we'll be crossing paths anyways in the next few months as well. Take care. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, next up, we have our reports. The first report on the agenda is regarding from the Director of Community Planning and Building, a follow-up report for the development variance permit application at 421 Day Place to consider issuance of a development variance permit. Before looking for a mover or seconder for the motions here, is there anyone who wishes to provide comment to council on the proposed variance here in the audience? I thought, right. Okay. Come on up, please. You can, if you come to the chair here. Yeah. Yeah. We move the podium back, but if you, just sit in the chair, then push the button on the left as Amit's going to show you. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name's Kathy Paul. I live at 501 Corfield Street. And I own a property at 160 Meridian Way, which is being affected by a request to increase the fence height to 7.5 feet. And it would only affect 2 sections of my fence, which is going to make it look very unappealing as far as I'm concerned. You can have a section going at 7.5, and then it's going to drop down and be the usual city allocated 6 foot or whatever it is. That area, there's a shed at my next door neighbor, which would provide a site blockage to the person in question on Day Place. And there's a maple tree that is in bloom all summer, which pretty much would block the remainder. So I'm questioning the fact that my property would be affected adversely by this fence increase. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Council, is there anyone further in our audience that would like to speak to this development variance permit? Seeing none, council, I'll ask for a mover or seconder for the recommendations as noted. Moved by mover or seconder, moved by Councillor Grenz, seconded by Councillor Beal. Thank you. Comments, discussion. Councillor Grenz, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Perhaps a question to our Director of Planning to help understand it's quite an unusual property in that it intersects or shares a backyard with multiple other properties. And so I can definitely see the need for that one property that has so many properties looking in on it to have a higher fence. But it is a valid point that the fence then becomes uneven for some of those property owners. Is that something that you've spoken to the proponent about, or that there are ways to mitigate those concerns if this amendment is passed?
Mr. Russell, if you would, please.
I'm not sure if I can absolutely answer Councillor Grenz's question because I don't directly deal with every applicant. And in this case, I believe it was a file that was referred to the planning department through interactions with other city departments. I can tell you that the section of fence is existing and that the development permit, the development variance permit is specific to the fence along the northern property line that is between the subject property and the other property on Day Place. So this is 421 Day Place, and it is on that northern property line between this property and 423. As well, the permit limits the length that this panel section is. In the permit in section 4, the term of permit limits it to a section no longer than 2.5 meters in length and is only that 2.5 meter long section along the northern property line that may be varied from 2 meters to 2.3 meters.
So in this particular case, Mr. Russell, then the reason that is going along at one common level and then rising to the other is because the extended height is just in one specific area, which is what the development variance permit is allowing for. So just for that shortened space to allow for the extra height due to privacy concerns for that particular view.
That is correct.
Thank you. Any other questions or go ahead, or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Beale.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When this first came to us, it sounded like it wouldn't necessarily be a big problem since it's over a fairly short span, et cetera. However, we have received another letter this morning, including photos from the other side. And I would have to agree that this is really unsightly. And so I cannot support this. And I also, seeing those photos where you have a fence that's going along and then all of a sudden there's this bit that just sticks up and it's not like it flows together or anything. But you can also see from the photo that on the proponent side, there is some kind of a, I don't know if it's a pergola or what, but some sort of a structure that does allow for vines to grow on it. So I do have a question for Mr. Russell. Is there anything to prevent the applicant from having something on their own property, not on the fence, that would allow for some vegetation to grow on it?
If I may, Mayor, through to Councillor Beale, yes, certainly someone can have a structure or a building that meets the setback requirements of the zone that could be higher than 2 meters, that could have vines or other plantings growing on it. In addition, the city does not regulate the height of hedges or vegetation.
Go ahead, Councillor Beale.
Yes, that was going to be my second question was, is there anything to prevent someone from planting a hedge or a couple of cedars or some other planting there that would provide some of a screen? So at the end of the day, I did not think this would be an issue, but having seen those photos and understanding that there's no guarantee that someone will add something to it that is in fact visually attractive or that fits in with the rest of the fence. And there's no way to control that, to regulate that. So I'm not in support of this.
Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Beale, for asking that question. I think that clarifies things for me as well. Question for you, Mr. Russell. In the email that the council received, and you were probably on that as well, the neighbor talks about the state of the shared fence, like the slats, the sprouting and all that. Does our bylaw talk about the requirements for maintenance of the shared fence as part of the permit? Like say if we, okay, sorry.
If I may, Mayor, no, the city doesn't regulate fences because it's really, it's an ownership question. Obviously there can be unsightly properties, but a small maintenance issue, the city doesn't regulate that.
Further comments? All right, go ahead, Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. When we see the photos of what the modification for the fence height, what materials have been used, it seems like it's kind of the lowest cost possible. And if you're, a neighboring property, it doesn't look great from their side. And so it kind of feels like a respectful neighbor chat. You could agree on something that's going to look great for everybody and still get that privacy with the variance if we were going to give it to them. I think the ball's kind of been dropped on how it looks on the neighbor side as well. And I think that's important to take into consideration when you're going to put up an extension on a height variance for the fence. So I'm not going to be supporting it. Thank you.
Councillor Martin, go ahead.
I know it's gone around the bend here, and I've heard the different comments from other councillors, and I looked at it myself too and felt that if it was my home, I wouldn't want to be looking at this fence going up for 2 panels and then coming down and that sort of thing, the visual part. But it's very notable that they could put up a hedge on their own land and have some height. I mean, there's other options for them, so I won't support this. Thank you.
Any further comments? I'll summarize here. I am supporting this, this application, mainly for the fact that I don't think it's up to council to decide what, like have comments on whether what is aesthetically appealing or not. I don't think that we have that ability to make that decision. For what is aesthetically appealing for one may not be aesthetically appealing for another. That's all personal choices. And that's usually a combination of, in a fence, it's neighbors should both be respected. But in this particular case, I got the note for the lattice work that is up on top. And I agree that it looks like it maybe could be reinstalled a little better using a level. Might help. The fact that it seemed to be, by the pictures indicates, seemed it could be more level, but that is a very easily fixable solution. In this case, I'm thinking that the proponent has not put up a hedging or an arbor with some vines on it or something like that, because as we know, they take a while to grow and to fill in. I would think that the need for privacy is immediate, and they wanted an immediate fix to that. And maybe it could be rectified, like with having, as you say, a vine or a hedge on the other side that will grow and mature, and maybe that could happen in the years to come. But I'm getting that the need was for urgent privacy in this individual's backyard, and the lattice work seemed to do it. And there's a lot of fences in town, of course, that were made with the old standard, with the cedar panel with lattice on top. That used to be the standard a few years ago. And I understand that it is a quick fix to provide some privacy. So on that merit alone, I'm supporting this application, because I feel that there must be an issue that has compromises individuals' right to privacy on their own property. So I will be supporting this as it stands. Thank you. Any further comments? All those in favor of the development's variance permit? In favor of? That is Councillor Grants and Mayor O'Brien. All those opposed? Those opposed are Councillor Martin, Councillor Gore, Councillor Wood, and Councillor Beal. That fails to carry. That is defeated. Thank you. Moving on. The next report is regarding the Director of Community Planning and Building reissuance a development permit at 440 Island Highway West to consider reissuance of a development permit. So, Council, you recognize that the other permit that was already on this property has expired, and this is just a reissuance of the development permit at the same location. So I have a mover seconder for the recommendations. Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Wood. Any comments? Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to Mr. Russell. This is about the third, if I'm not wrong, during my term that a reissuance application has come. Typically, what do we see? What's the reason why the development permits lapse? Is it financing or other hurdles that are stopping people from developing their properties?
If I may, through to Councillor, there can be a myriad of reasons. In this case, there was a previous development permit with respect to the water channel enhancement and relocation work. And I believe that dealing with different agencies such as the province has maybe impacted some of those timelines. That being said, I said there can be a whole number of reasons.
Correct. May I follow up? Thank you.
Follow up, go ahead.
Thanks. So Parksville has about 2 years limit on our development permits. Other municipalities, do they have this 2-year limit? And if it's a reissuance of exactly the same permit, could somebody like yourself as the approving officer at the direction of the council be given the authority for the extension? Is that a normal practice?
If I may, Mayor, through to Councilor Gore. So the 2 years comes from legislation. And then with respect to the reissuance, essentially legislatively council's issuing a new permit that just happens to be identical to the old permit. And then with respect to delegation, it's certainly possible to have a delegation of authority bylaw that delegates the authority of certain permit issuances to staff. There are a couple limits when it comes to lands that are hazard lands, for example, but certainly with respect to form and character, it is possible. If council so wish to do that, that could certainly be something that direction could be provided in the future.
Okay.
I have one more, but I can wait.
Any further questions? I just let council know I have no problem supporting this recommendation for the new development permit. I'm very excited about this project, especially for all the work that went into preserving and daylighting that waterway through it. And so I'm impressed with the amount of work they had to do it. Maybe that had something to do, because anytime you're dealing with something like that, the biological concerns are huge. So I'm guessing that's probably it. So I am supporting this. Yes. Oh, hey, Council Bill, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yeah, I'd just like to add to that, as I am the liaison to the advisory design panel, I certainly recall the presentation that was made by for this particular development, and it really was most impressive. It was an absolute pleasure seeing what the work they've put into this, the planning, the placement. They absolutely, anyway, it was really lovely to see. And I did have an opportunity to stop by recently at their presentation area. I'm just curious to know how things are developing. And it sounds like they, assuming this goes ahead, that they will be ready to actually break ground in the not too distant future. So it looks like it's all systems go.
I agree 100%. Thank you for that. Councilor Gore, follow up.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. It's just definitely, yes, one of the better designs that I've seen, and just the proposal itself is very impressive. Environmentally sensitive, protecting that water course. Also the setback from the Marks Nature Park. I think it's very impressive design. My question, perhaps, I don't know if Councilor Beal can answer that. It's about the glass on the balcony. Like we like the frosted glasses. It not only provides privacy, but its proximity to the Marks Nature Park. I'm thinking a lot of birds will be in the area, so to avoid bird strikes to those balcony glass. Is that part of the design? I could not see that in the proposal that the glasses would be frosted, so we are not getting all those bird crashes.
Since my name was mentioned, I will tell you, I don't actually recall those specific comments around that, but hopefully that won't be an issue. I know that at home I have those silhouettes of birds that are stuck on things, and that seems to help somewhat, as well as something that they sell at Lee Valley that really has made a difference. So.
Yeah, that's right. Take care of those birdies. Thank you. Any other comments on this? Councilor Grants, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to support this as well. And I think with the economic uncertainty that we're seeing now and the reduction in immigration to Canada, that we'll likely see more development application permits lapsing, and a slowdown in construction across Canada is quite likely. So hopefully this one does proceed, because it would be nice to have that creek daylighting happening there and all the things that we're expecting to happen with this proposal.
Good point. So let's not delay this any longer. All those in favor? Thank you. That is unanimous. Just made it a little quicker. Thank you. The next report is regarding from the Director of Community Planning and Building Development Permit application at 222 Corfield Street South, also known as Orchid Place, to consider issuance of a development permit. Do I have a mover and seconder for the recommendations? Councilor Wood. Moved, seconded by Councilor Grants. Any comments or discussion? Councilor Gore, go ahead.
Thank you. just a quick question to our CAO, perhaps on the amount of the award. Is there a reason why it's $1 less than $1 million? Is it part of the regulation?
You're on the different.
Oh, I'm
you're on the
sorry.
different. Yeah, sorry. We're on number 3 report. It's coming. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to ask that before you now. Thanks. Any further comments regarding this application in front of us today? Councillor Grens, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm pleased to support this. Looking forward to having additional spaces in this building, and having the bicycle storage moved to the outside of the building will, I'm sure, be more convenient for residents, and provide opportunity for residents to have their bike kept in a safe place.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you. Councillor Gore.
Yes, this is related to 222 Corefield. Thank you. So CAO, I think what I'm guessing, this is related to opening up that vehicle scooter storage for another shelter space or occupancy space, I guess, for one of the residents, correct? So, because I understand when I did the tour for 222, they have one of the spaces where a bed could be put that they were using as a scooter storage. So moving this outside frees up that space so another individual can be housed. If you can provide some insight.
Yes, if I may, through
Go
you,
ahead, CAO. please.
through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Gore. This will allow for 3 permanent dwelling units for 3 people who are in need of supportive housing.
Okay. And to clarify, the 3 units are inside, not outside in the new storage buildings to be put in.
That is correct.
Yeah, I knew that was going to relate into a phone call. Go ahead, Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe staff was working long and hard with BC Housing to get this to happen. So I just wanted to have a quick shout out to staff for getting this done. Thanks.
That's right. Thank you. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, Council. The next report we have is from the Manager of Engineering for the contract award for the Parksville Pathway Project Phase 1 Tender Award. Award a contract for the construction of Phase 1 of the pedestrian pathway project. Move it or second for the recommendations. Moved by Councillor Gore, seconded by Councillor Wood. Is there a question coming up here? Something to do about 9999? Go ahead, sir.
You want to ask it again? Thank you. Through the mayor to our CAO. Is there like legislative requirement why the contract award is less than $1 less than $1 million?
If I may, through the council.
CAO Taylor, go ahead, please.
No, that is what they bid.
Yeah. Nice. That was worthy of the question, though. Yeah. Any other comments regarding this contract award? All those in favor? It carries unanimous. Thank you, Council. The next report is regarding from the CAO. Oh, sorry, I skipped a page. Sorry. Is regarding from the Manager of Communications for service level fees for special events bookings. I believe that we had a handout of detail. Everyone got one of these in front of you. Here. Anyways, so let's get it on the floor here. Do I have a mover or seconder for the recommendations as noted? Moved by Councillor Wood, second by Councillor Martin. Discussion. No, are we going to speak to it?
Yes, if I may, Mr. Mayor, we have a verbal presentation on this
Okay.
one.
Okay, that's great. Oh, that verbal report. Yes. The devil is in the details. Verbal. Okay.
Good afternoon, Council. I have a few brief slides. You have a handout which has all the information that's in this presentation. So some time ago, back in the fall, Council asked staff to bring forward some recommendations for possible fees for use of city-owned facilities. And that is what this report will do. We looked at
quite a few municipalities, more than the 14, but the 14 we looked at closely are municipalities where there is a charge for fees of municipal property. Our framework is based loosely on the city of Nanaimo's fee structure. And one of the reasons for that is it was a simple structure and it also is within the RDN. As you can imagine, there are many different ways we could look at a fee structure. Everything from number of people attending, not-for-profit, for-profit, but a not-for-profit, commercial, those kinds of things. So I'm hoping this, what I'm presenting here will give you a sense of what we think is doable. We also looked at a number of possible effective dates. Back in the fall, we were thinking maybe June 1st. And then as this presentation was deferred, then perhaps September. But I think probably January 1st would be a good date. It gives staff time to look at how we could receive fees electronically, and also takes into account a new council and an opportunity to make adjustments. Just a couple of points, and I'm sure this is not new information for council. We have a lot of events that are booked in the city. They're becoming more complex. They take more staff time. And I think that's one of the reasons to look at possible service fees. The other thing is often when people call to book, say, the gazebo, a wedding, there is no fee. And people are absolutely surprised that we're not charging at least a booking fee. So I think, and I think also it often makes them feel more secure in their booking, that they have that confirmation. The fees suggested here, obviously there's prime time and non-prime time. There's not-for-profit, and then other. Not-for-profit would be, we would look at defining it as small group bookings, birthday parties, private events under 100, free community events, and those events that are non-commercial in nature. The other category would be defined as ticketed events, events where there's an entrance fee. And examples of those might be a fundraising event, ticketed concert, plays, and where participants or users' fees are charged by an organizer. The nonprofit rate is 25% of other. So to use the example of a wedding booked in the gazebo, the cost would be $15. Use of sidewalks and roads, examples would be walks, runs, parades, and then parking lot fee. This has come up a couple of times, so we thought it might be good to have that included. And that would be a downtown parking lot that's city owned. And the rate would be $75 a day. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks. Or nonprofit would be $18.75. An example would be if the PDBA wanted to look at booking one of the downtown parking lots, it would be $18.75 a day. Before I go on, any questions on that?
Any? We're looking for questions for the first section of the report here, council, which is just going down to the other parks and plazas. We haven't got down in the fields and the courts. I have a question when we get down to that level, but I don't have any questions for the first part of the section. Go ahead, Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just wondering, like, they're suggesting this wouldn't even be happening maybe this year, but collecting the funds, will that all be put into our system so that this could be done properly? Because it would take quite a bit of time to do this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's what as Tardif mentioned earlier on anyways, that they're working out the methods of payment that would be easy, like an online system, you know, like everything else is done. So something like that, as I understand it. And I think that's going to be worked out. That's why we're receiving this in so much advance notice anyways, because we're getting the feedback exactly from these obviously user groups too. Okay. Councillor Beal and then Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yes, on that note, I feel like there's a fair bit here, to take in and process as well and understand who would be affected and how, but also that suggested start date of January 1st, 2027. I think that's not only important for staff and for preparing all of this, but also for groups and organizations in the community to understand the implications and what sort of effect that might have on their budgeting, which, as you can imagine, for anything larger, is often put in place a year ahead of time. So I think that also gives additional time. But I'm just trying to follow along and imagine how this would all work. So thanks.
Yeah, me too. Councillor Gora, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, to you too, our Director of Communications. One question is perhaps about the RDN. How does that fit in? Because they currently book our facilities, and I'm sorry if I missed it in your report. And how, I think, similar to what Councillor Martin was saying, how we'll be able to recover those funds if it's through the RDN booking system. They're getting paid. Are we getting paid back by the RDN?
No, if I may. Further on, I do speak to the sports courts and sports fields. So we would be charging a rate for players or suggesting a rate for players. We wouldn't be charging the RDN for the use of those fields because that would be separate from service fees for bookings.
Understood.
Yeah.
One more. Yes, thank you. I have a question and it's getting into the weeds a little bit, but I was surprised to see the cenotaph being on there. I know it's a city property, maybe that's why, but I hope the Legion doesn't get charged for holding the memorial service on Remembrance Day for that. And it's over 100 people who attend. If you could clarify that, please.
If I may, Your Worship, or Mayor, there hasn't been fees in the past. And there would be the option always to not charge an organization. I mean, I think of Remembrance Day as an event that really is joint. We provided trucks and staff last year. There was no charge to the Legion. So I don't see it as being any different.
Right. As I understand it, that we're talking booking fees here. This service level that is incurred by the city of Parksville for many of these major events, because we've clearly been discovered as a great place to hold your events, and which is amazing. That's wonderful that we've done it with our facilities. But at the same time, we recognize that a lot of those service fees, an increase in service fees to administer these different events, are borne by the city of Parksville taxpayers. And that's who's paying it for that increased level of service, whether there's more custodians, more garbage pickups, more cleanup afterwards, before and after, and the booking itself, recognizing that those are the taxpayers of Parksville that are paying for that. So I think it's just to let people know that, that we appreciate the fact that in this particular case, we're looking for, these are basically booking fees is what it is. And you see why the costs are so low. They don't ever come close to the actual cost of actually running the event itself. So that's what we're talking here, is just kind of establish it. And we're going by feel here. We're going to get input by customer as well, or client anyways in this particular case. So we're just moving in a direction to be more reasonable for everybody. So Councilor Wood, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. And I love the idea that, if we want to have a wedding in the gazebo, that we're kind of removing the public from being able to use that. And we want to reserve it and make sure it's there for us. When we're going to have our wedding, that'd be kind of classified as nonprofit. We're not, charging tickets to come and see our wedding. And so it might be $15 for 4 hours at the gazebo. Where does something like the Downtown Business Association fit in when they're kind of serving, the larger community with holding something at say Memorial Plaza? How might that work into this? Through yourself to staff.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Artifice, you would please.
That, if I may, will need to be worked out. And I think that and say Beach Fest, sort of the larger organizations, we'll have to look at some of those separately. Yeah.
Yeah, and to add just a further comment on that, like places like the Memorial Plaza and so forth, they're not just one particular group, whether it's PDBA or anybody else. It has to be made available to the public for other public events as well, that they would like to have it for Memorial Plaza. Nothing is exclusive. And that goes the same with Beach Fest as well. Beach Fest has a large area down there, sort of thing, but it's recognizing that it's, these are public spaces for the public, not for exclusive use of any one group. So this is identifying that. So by putting a booking on it, recognizing that, well, you may not be able to book that space in Memorial Plaza this week because it's already booked up by another group, but you could go for it for next week is absolutely free, instead of just like thinking, oh, it's just all inclusive to one other group. So it's making it non-exclusive, which I think is a good policy to kind of go down here at this point. Yeah, go ahead, Councilor.
Sure. Thank you. Just a follow-up comment, Mayor. And I love the idea of being able to reserve something because it makes it much easier to plan. I just think there's a little bit of nuance available for whether we're charging, say the Downtown Business Association, who tries to provide an excellent service to, community members, whether we're charging them or maybe there's some leeway there, for an organization that's not necessarily charging tickets to make money on it, but it's an event that they just want to reserve a space and provide, a little event for the community. So I think I love most of this. I just think there's some nuance there that we could work out. Thanks.
It'll be a working project progress, I'm sure. Yeah. Councilor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Following along with that, I'm looking at, for instance, large sand courts and I do want to say I appreciate that whenever booking events and setting up that it does involve a lot of staff time and somewhere that needs to be accounted for. And I do appreciate that. I did a quick calculation thinking about Beach Fest there, the sand sculpting, which I believe runs 6 weeks. I guess I should know exactly at 42 days. If I looked at that looks like that might be $4,200 for that period of time, which is certainly an event that we come to expect every year. And yet the booking is very involved setting that up, I have no doubt, but I'm just wondering as well where multi-day events might take place, because presumably one isn't rebooking for every day. So again, hoping that there is some, as somebody said, some nuance there and thinking about, and I have no doubt, knowing our staff and the wonderful Mrs. Tardif that and Candace in booking that, have really looked at all those ramifications and trying to think through all kinds of events and possibilities. So I look forward to learning more, but I want to be open to thinking about, what we decide and what the implications are for community groups.
Thank you, Councilor Martin. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Myself, I'm the liaison for the PDBA, as you all know, and I appreciate Councillor Wood and Councillor Beal making a comment about that. But myself, I've been down there so many times helping on the plaza. And from my perspective, it is 110% a community event. For the PDBA to have to pay for something to do with that, I'm making a report today. I served way over 100 chocolate things on New Year's Eve, little cups of chocolate for all the visitors and community people that were there. And so that to me seems very unusual to charge the PDBA for something to look after when it's distinctly a community event. And that's not the only one. I've been there probably over the last 3 years, maybe 10 times. Community people are there and they're doing us a service to open up our community. That is what I understand from what my experience has been. So I just thought I'd share that. Thank you.
And Councillor Kern, okay. Okay,
I have
Cardiff, if you carry on, please.
2 more slides.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I alluded to this earlier. We wanted to come up with this really truly the simplest way to look at covering some of the costs. Obviously, the fields are the cost to maintain fields is much greater than sports courts, which is why we're suggesting $10 per player per year for minor, and then the $5 per player per year for sports courts, and then the adults would pay twice that amount. This is what we're suggesting. At this point, we have never charged for tournaments, and there is a huge cost, cost to the city to prep for tournaments. Often there's work on the fields that needs to be done. So this would be a start, a very small start to look at covering some of those costs. We don't know how many players there are because the teams, those bookings are done through the RDN. So we would need to work with the RDN to determine how many players there are. And probably, I'm guessing that probably wouldn't even come into effect until September 2027, which is often when teams start their year. So I think that's fairly simple. Tournament fees would be booked as special events, and then fees would be paid at the time of booking. And then tournament rates would apply only to fields, ball diamonds, lacrosse courts, and sports courts.
Okay, 1 second, Ms. Tardif, if you would. Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Thank you. Ms. Tardif, if you can clarify the per player cost. My guess is this is for people who belong to clubs or associations. If somebody out in the community wants to go play pickleball, they're not going to get charged. Okay, understood. Thank you.
That's true. Yeah. So.
Carry on.
So most of what is on this slide is new. Again, trying to recover in some small way the cost to the city. So if there's a call out for a special event, we would be looking at $55 an hour during business hours. And if on a weekend there's need for staff, we would be looking at $55 for a minimum of 4 hours. And when we have on-call staff on the weekend, they do not respond to special events or requests for service. Garbage fees are pretty much what happens now. If garbage cleanup is required, then we would charge the organizer the actual costs. Electrical is new. We're proposing $8 a day. We do not charge for water because it's accessible within the park and there's no way to monitor that. But we do have to give an organizer a key for electrical boxes. Storage in a city facility or in a CCAN, this is suggested at $6 a square foot per year. And we would need to do some work on that because there are already arrangements in place for storage. But it's one of the things that operations has said they need to look at. And then an $18.75 charge for change rooms. The lighting is already in place. It's $10 an hour for this fourplex and the tennis courts. And this is just a suggested recommendation or a motion. We looked at the number of events held in 2025 and estimated that based on the fees suggested here, which do not include the player fees, would be somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000 a year. So nowhere near cost of recovery in any sense. It's possible, being realistic, we could see a drop in bookings in 2027 because of these fees. We saw that in 2024 when we brought in the need for liability insurance. Everyone came back in 2025. And I think the final thing I would like to say is that most municipalities do charge some kind of booking or service level fee for city-owned facilities. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Tardif. I just had a question while it's here anyways in my mind. Under the other column, where it's regarding the change rooms. So I'm trying to think, okay, where do we have change rooms? And Springwood is the one that comes to mind. We just basically have washrooms down in our community park, but the change rooms. So I'm just a little concerned about the change rooms at $18.75 a day, because in addition to that, then they're paying the ball diamond, like the ball diamond fee is very low, like $10 a year, $20 a year. But I'm just a little concerned about $18.75 a day for the change rooms, just for the ball diamonds, because in the summertime, the change rooms, to me, it's almost like change rooms in the field. I mean, you can't have one without the other. They need the change rooms and they need the field. So I like charge one or the other, but I'm not sure that we need to. I recognize that the change rooms need work on it, but from what I understand it, just from the ball association, that they clean their own change rooms. Or do our custodians have to clean that every day? Because as I understand it, they advised me, the baseballers, that they do their own cleanup of that, and as well as the umpire room as well, that they clean that. Is that not correct? All that I'm getting at is I think that the change rooms come with the ball field. It's all part and parcel to it. You can't have a ball game without, the kids changing out in the middle of the field. Well, you could, but
Sorry if I'm.
Go ahead, say it. Okay, Laura. I'm just thinking about that one from a practical point of view is all I'm doing.
Yeah, there are some bookings that don't need the change rooms. So if you're just an hour practice or a 2-hour practice, usually you probably would use the change room for a tournament or an all day kind of a play day, but there's a lot of organizations that probably would not need the change room. Like the kids show up in their soccer gear or their baseball gear, play for an hour and a half training or whatever, and then leave. So they don't always need that. But yeah, definitely with the baseball, there's actually we have a user field analysis happening this year.
Right.
with all of our sports. So we're trying to kind of avoid the sports with this particular policy because we'll be bringing something back to council on a myriad of things around priority for different venues, like who gets, like if all the people want the venue on the same day, what's council's direction on priority for that? And we also have some specific agreements with the baseball users on we have lease agreements with them on the concession and other things. So some nuances around there, but that's just with the one group, with the, whatever their new name is, that used to be the Royals. But we do have other users of that facility and they don't technically have exclusive use of the change rooms. So there's a couple of odd things just on with that one baseball user group that will be coming back to council because we already have existing leases with them.
Right, so it would be specific agreements for like.
Yeah, for the
I think
concession.
the North Island Parksville Royals is what they are now.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, that's right. Because my other one was like, I'm just looking at tennis and pickleball, a $10 player per year, which is pretty reasonable, but what's that going to be on? Everybody gets a little pass that says that they paid the $10 or I think our BCOs have enough to do without checking to see if everybody's got their ticket with them.
Sorry, Jeb, I'm just going to jump in because I was chatting with a friend of mine who is the manager of facilities at the city of Nanaimo. So I had some really good conversations with
good.
her. So what they do usually is your club knows how many members you have. So the club books the space and they would tell you in September, we have 400 youth players for this season. So each one of them pays $5 for those Nanaimo fields. So it's kind of a set thing at the season beginning and then that club books. So it doesn't like if they add 100 new members, then they get those guys for free that year, I guess. But it's really based on like a trust system with the club organizers who we do have very good relationships with usually. So it's kind of a one-off thing. They declare at the beginning of the season when they're booking their fields for the whole tournament season. So it's relatively easy to administer, but it is based on them telling us the truth, but they usually do.
Okay, it's based on the honor system.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's great. That's way easier. Thank you. Councillor Wood, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm not sure what, I know we're just receiving a verbal report right now, but I'm not sure what staff has in mind. This might be an opportunity for like a committee of the whole where we kind of discuss the impacts on different groups and maybe invite groups to come and chat with us so we kind of know the ins and outs. I'm guessing that each group will have a bit of a different perspective on how it's going to impact them. Some of them might really love that they get to reserve it and it's locked in for them, and then the fees might impact others in a not great way. And so I was just kind of throwing that out there, but I'm not sure what staff has in mind.
Yes, and I agree. I like a committee of the whole set up when we get down to putting it down on paper and getting feedback from the user groups. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I may just maybe mention, like staff is looking for some direction of whether this is a yay or a nay. This has come up, it came up just before COVID with the previous council, obviously, and the decision around that time was that we would spend the year, which happened to be the COVID year, so that didn't happen. But we were to spend that year chatting with our user groups and just kind of getting some feedback. But of course, that never occurred. So it's kind of been hanging out there in terms of we don't really have clear direction if this is a philosophical way that council wants to go or not. And I think some direction today, whether or not we start the process and looking into this would be helpful. And then I think a great suggestion from those around the table is that we would then have a draft framework to bring to a committee of the whole, perhaps also to discuss with folks during the OCP review, to reach out to the RDN and other close by areas, Town of Qualicum Beach, where we kind of want to be consistent because we don't want to be, more expensive or less expensive than our neighbors and have, folks coming to us instead of when they maybe should be going to the Town of Qualicum Beach. So I think today it would be very helpful for us to understand, and maybe you don't know yet, but at some point in the near future, to understand if this is something we should start going down the path towards, or if right now everyone's like, status quo, keep it the way it is, because it's been lingering as a bit of an unresolved issue, I think, for the last little while. And we are hearing from some user members or user groups that there's a pro and con for them. Like there's a pro in that if they pay a little bit, they feel like they can get better service. They also get sort of more confirmation that they've paid their $15, so they get, it's theirs and they don't feel like they can complain if they're getting it for free. So I think some folks will be willing, but we, again, purposefully kind of recommended maybe nothing changing until January 1st to allow even informal discussion. But we have a number of different things going on in the next little while. Like I mentioned, the OCP, some of the informal campaigning that'll most likely be happening, I think, in the next few months. And then just some opportunity for the new council to kind of decide where to go. But if you would like that new council to have something concrete, like a draft, we can continue and do that work. But if you're like, not really a priority for any of us, then we can get that direction today and just put it on the back burner for a future time. So it's just been kind of hanging there without clear direction for a little while. So that would be a nice thing to get today.
Right. And so I appreciate the fact that this is more like the initial draft anyways of what it could look like. And so I really appreciate that, because I know this is council's first time looking at it type of thing. So we're getting lost in the weeds here. So, and I fully appreciate that, CAO Kaler, that I think what we're looking at today, folks, everybody here at the table right now, is the suggestion that if you're in favor of proceeding along with service level fees and all that CAO Kaler mentioned is going to be involved, then we can just do a recommendation anyways to receive the report and to approve staff going forward with the proposed service level fee structure applications. And as Councillor Wood mentioned anyways, with that's committee of the whole OCP engagement, then so be it. And I think that's so. CAO, I just promoted you, I think. Councillor Wood, go ahead.
Thank you. I don't know if I need my sand dollars going towards this. I don't know how much staff time will be on this. There's a lot of things I like about this. If you're going to have a wedding, it's nice to reserve it, and whatever $15 is worth having that blocked off. I think that's great. It's not a full cost recovery on some of these things. Maybe it's only 25% cost recovery on the services, something like that. I think that's good because it's kind of a specific group that's kind of benefiting from using the facilities. And so I like the entire idea, just like Deb mentioned, people call and they're surprised that you don't already book or you don't already charge a little bit of a fee. So it seems pretty normal to me. I just think there's some discussion on nuance of pricing and what groups get charged what. And again, I don't know how much staff time this is going to take. I don't think it was on any of our lists, but that's kind of how I feel. I feel it's definitely worth a discussion and maybe set up next council with something a bit more solid to look at.
Right. And then I can confirm anyways, previous council as well, we talked about it. And that was as far as it got, but everyone thing gets pushed out onto the workload. But if staff have some direction anyways at this particular point, that they can work this into their workload, the existing workload that we have type of thing, knowing full well that, we're even talking implementation onto a 27. If they wouldn't have brought it up if they didn't think that they could do it. So the initial steps would happen, I would anticipate now. Councillor Grenz and then Councillor Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thinking maybe if it's okay, I'll move a motion on this. And I would do the first part, which is that the verbal report be received. The second part is I'd actually maybe suggest that we ask direct staff to do what CAO suggested, is engage with counterparts in Qualicum Beach and RDN to just get a sense of whether they're looking to go in a similar direction. And if so, I'd love to see a report actually before we go on to the service level fees policy. I'd prefer not to see the policy drafted yet. I'd love to get a little bit more background report in terms of philosophy around cost recovery and maybe some options about cost recovery, because there are any number of ways that it could go philosophically to the point. Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off there, but we do have a motion on the floor to receive. So we'll have to do that first.
Oh, did we make a motion? Oh,
Um,
sorry.
but-
My apologies. I didn't realize we made the motion.
but that sounds like a good idea for the next motion.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to finish off this one, if I could, Councillor Grant, finish off this, just to receive the report, which we're doing, and then understand that you can make another motion off the floor.
Well, if the motion is exactly, I don't recall we put this motion on the floor to the staff.
No, it was just the recommendation.
Just the
in
first one,
package,
okay.
Yeah,
That the
just to
verbal
receive.
report for the manager of communications regarding service level fees for special event bookings be received. That's the motion that's on the floor right now. So.
My
how about we
apologies.
wind that up? Can we wind that up? Or, okay. Moved and seconded? I think we moved and seconded already.
Yeah, it's moved, sorry to cut you off there. It is moved and seconded. It was moved by Counselor Wood and seconded by Counselor Martin.
Thank you.
Just to
Oh,
receive.
Okay, so do you want to comment on the motion that we just spoke of? Go ahead, Councilor Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yes, I certainly want to support receiving this report and also not moving too quickly to the next step, although that sounds like a reasonable motion to make. But I'd certainly like to have some time to think about some of this and more importantly, formulate questions that I would have. So, when we get further down the road, but I certainly like the idea of staff moving along with this, but at this point, just receiving it.
Right, thank you. Any further comments to the motion on the floor? Councilor Martin, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I will, what Councillor Beal proposed, I agree with, not going to the whole report, but just getting some comparisons for the future. I think that there's a lot of thought that's been put in this so far. And so we have to walk before we run on this one. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? All those in favor? Thank you. The carries unanimous. Thank you. Is there any other motions that would like to be made at this particular time? Councillor Grenz, just guessing.
Thank you. We're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here today on various fronts. So maybe I'd move that council agrees in principle with adding service level fees and direct staff to correspond with staff in Qualicum Beach and the regional district around initiating a service fee system, schedule. And third, that if that is all, please massage these words. If other jurisdictions are on board, then proceed with the staff report around proposed service level fees, outlining a few options and philosophy. You got all that?
We need some wherebys. At least a whereby or two. Come on.
Yeah, throw in some warehouses and wherebys. Make it look good.
Okay, that is moved by Councillor Grenz, seconded by Councillor Wood. And CAO Kaylor, did you get some semblance of order off that? Okay.
If I may, yes. Just one thing that might be helpful is just some direction on priority. Like, when do you want, like, you want this before the end of your term or just for the next council or?
My preference would be not this term of council because we're running out of time.
Can we say like in preparation for 2027, which alludes to the fact that it'll be the new council?
Yeah, if I may through council, that would actually be helpful because we can start the informal discussions with our neighbors. And then touch base with the new council when we're doing the work plan for them. That's kind of how it has worked with transitioning from one council to the next. So I think that's probably good. As long as you don't feel like you need something before your term ends.
Yeah.
That's probably makes the most sense because we were really looking at implementing for the next term anyway. So it gives us the go ahead and the sort of license to chat with our counterparts, spend a bit of staff time on it, but not take it too far.
Okay, thank you. If you could you add that part onto the Councillor Grenz about 2027? You're in agreement with that?
I'm in
Councillor?
agreement. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
for that.
Councillor Wood, you're in agreement? Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Everyone's in agreement. That carries unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Tardif, for your work on this. The next report is regarding from the CAO, the appointment of chief election officers. The purpose of this report is to see council appointment of the chief and deputy chief election officers for the city of Parksville 2026 general local government elections, our favorite time of year. Do I have a mover and seconder for the recommendations? Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any comments or discussion? CAO, you have a question? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did just want to maybe take an opportunity to let the current council members and also prospective candidates know that over the next few months, staff will be doing a lot of public awareness, and we will start, once we get the election officers appointed, assuming that goes ahead, we will start building a Let's Talk Parksville tile, and we'll be bringing back some like public service announcements to council, but also doing some orientation and overview of the whole process for both prospective candidates, for current candidates, and just for the general population on, you know, how to get registered, like how to vote basically. So this is a very busy time, obviously, for us, but we have a very robust process to help everybody, regardless of their role and their position, kind of moving through the election period, understand what the requirements are. We also host sessions for people who are interested in becoming candidates. So I just want to do a little bit of a heads up or a warning that those things are all coming your way. So if you're interested in that, keep an eye on our website, and we'll be bringing things to council before we put them on Let's Talk Parksville, that will help guide people through the process if they're first-time voters, or if they're new to this province, or if they haven't been an elected official before and they want to do that. So there'll be lots coming out, and it's pretty exciting for us. Maybe not for everybody, but yeah, we have lots of great resources that will be coming out. So if you have questions or you're getting questions, you can always direct them to staff right now, but we'll be ramping up in the next probably 6 to 8 weeks, so that we have a lot of resources available for the community on this very important democratic process.
Not as much as the excitement on this side of the table. It's way more fun. And no campaign signs yet, everybody, just not yet, okay? We have a mover second for the recommendation. Do we not? Do we move it? You got, okay. Any further discussion regarding the 3 recommendations on the floor? All those in favor? Thank you. That carries unanimous. Bylaws. We have a final adoption of the 5-year financial plan bylaw 2026 to 2030, number 1599. Financial plan. Do I have a mover or seconder for the recommendations? Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Beal. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Note that Councillor Gore is opposed. Thank you. Bylaws for final adoption. The Intercommunity Business License Bylaw 2025, number 1600. To establish a scheme for intercommunity licensing and regulating of trades, occupations, and businesses. Do I have a mover or seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Grenz, seconded by Councillor Wood. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. That carries. We have motions from previous meetings up next, folks. We have 2 motions from the previous meeting. The first one we have here is from Councillor Wood regarding a submission of resolution to 2026 Association of Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities Convention. So I'm not sure that this needs to be read out unless you want to, Councillor Wood. It's Councillor Wood has added the amount of appropriate whereases and wherebys. So how can we go wrong? Do I have a mover second for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Wood and seconded by Councillor Grenz. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Wood.
Thanks, Mayor. I won't bore us all, but it's kind of the opposite of what we see in the city of Vancouver. They're increasing the DCC fees, and they're hearing from developers, hey, this is too expensive. We're not going to make our margins. So we're going to build less housing. The province and the federal government both want more housing built. This is a way to alleviate the upfront costs of the DCCs with developers. If the province definitely wants more housing built, which we always hear they do. But what it does not do, it doesn't change the DCC obligations. It doesn't weaken local authority, as we may have seen with more recent private members' bills from Victoria. And so I'm just putting it forward for discussion. Thanks.
And it doesn't hurt to have discussion, and I hope the province is listening if it goes through. Councillor Gore, you had a comment. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I have a question to the councillor on this. I stepped out for a little break. But I was wondering if he has heard anything from developers in our communities raising this as an issue, that DCC rates that Parksville has are a hindrance to development. If you look around Parksville, you can see a lot of projects, breaking ground, moving forward. Why is this a Parksville issue? Why should Parksville be pioneering this, going to AVICC? Second, I think my recollection is that we have not revised our DCC rates since 2017. This council has the authority and has taken the opportunity not to raise those DCC rates. So I have a couple more questions, but I want to start with that. Has the councillor heard that DCC rates that Parksville has are an issue for further development? Thank you.
Yeah, and the other comment I can make, Councillor Gore, to that, and I'm going to throw it to Councillor Wood in a moment here. Many of the projects that are put through we don't charge DCCs, like on the affordable housing and so forth. So those are not charged anyways. And so recognize that those DCC charges for affordable housing are basically absorbed by the rest of the taxpayers and so forth. So to have some provincial participation to push for the affordable housing that we're all trying to make sure we have adequate amount, or it's in my mind, it's they want the housing, but at the same time, they should be stepping up because it means the rest of the people in our community have to pay more. And especially when you consider property tax exemptions, it means it's a property tax exemption for the additional, for the accessible or the affordable house, but it just means everybody else pays more. So everybody in our community pays more. So sorry to take a little wind out of your sails here. Councillor Wood, go ahead.
No, not a problem at all, Mayor. Through yourself to Councillor Gore. I haven't heard anything about Parksville. This is not really Parksville specific. Really, this is meant to give the province other options, as we see private members bill, which this council has voted against supporting, because the province wants to accelerate housing, and in some local governments, they're pointing to those local governments as being slow to approve housing. And I don't think Parksville is necessarily on that list. And so this is just another option. If the province wants to accelerate housing, this may well accelerate the housing in some local governments, and not ours at all. Thanks.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Gore.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Councillor. The other question I have is the province is already looking at revising the DCC by, their policy changes. They're asking only 25% upfront that they have to pay. The 75% can be deferred up to 4 years or when there's occupancy. So there's already that structure that the province is looking at working towards. When it comes to growth, somebody has to pay for the growth. The growth itself doesn't pay, whether it's developers or, like the mayor said, otherwise the current taxpayers end up footing the bill for the development. The DCC is also very closely tied to the ACC that the province is proposing. And the reason I am reluctant to support this is how would that affect the ACC? The ACC bylaw that we haven't adopted yet, but can perhaps pay for the amenities that the community needs as it grows. Are we asking the province to also fund the ACCs? I'm not sure. Like, have you thought that through? Like, how would we fund those necessary amenities if we get rid of the DCC, let's say, and support this resolution? So yeah, if you can speak to that a little bit, like the tying of the DCC with the ACC, the amenities that our community needs. I think that will give me a better picture if I'm to support this resolution. Thank you.
Sure, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Wood, go ahead, sir.
If I may, through yourself. Local governments definitely need DCCs and ACCs to provide the infrastructure and amenities for development. As community grows, it needs more of a variety of things: sewer, water, roads, etc. This simply, if the province is going to change the DCCs, developers only have to pay 25% upfront, 75% later. Developers probably welcome that, and that probably would help accelerate housing being built. What this does is it tells the province, hey, you know, if you really want housing accelerated, then you can front the costs for the developers and they'll pay later. So instead of even 25% upfront, the province will pay that 25% upfront, and the developers can pay when they're done. Really what I want the province to do is see there are other options besides removing power from local governments and control, if they want to accelerate that housing. And we definitely do not want to do away with DCCs and ACCs because those fees, whoever is paying them upfront, whether it's developers or the province, those help build the infrastructure and amenities to support the housing. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bill, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'd have to say, reading through this a few times, I'm reluctant to support this. I find that there are a few contradictions in there, but also, and starting with the notion that, you know, is this Parksville specific? And I'm not sure that it relates as closely to Parksville as perhaps some other communities in the province. And also thinking about both what I hear in the community regarding housing and also looking at our own Director of Planning's interim housing report, that a lot of the housing that we really need is the affordable housing or non-market housing. And so if in fact we were asking and a nod to the mayor there mentioning that, and in that case, those DCCs are waived, i.e. absorbed by the larger community. And perhaps if this was specific to covering those costs so that municipalities are in fact reimbursed for that, that might be a different story. So, yes, so I'm reluctant to support this.
Go ahead, Councillor Wood. I won't jump in. I want to, but I won't. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Through yourself to Councillor Beal. This has nothing to do with non-market housing. Of course, we'd like to accelerate that as much as possible. We're coming up on 2 years waiting for, you know, BC Housing to fund and give the go-ahead for the Lions Housing Society. You know, the private members bill that we saw recently come to council that we expressed our disapproval with a letter. We don't think that that private members bill applies to Parksville because we're not seeing that delaying the housing, but we still spoke to it because we don't think that it's the province's lane to tell us what to do to get housing improved because we're already doing a good job. And so really this is just giving the provincial government on a more provincial scale and just another idea where they don't have to remove the local government control or you know, suggestions, which they tried to do. And it's just giving them another option on a more provincial scale than Parksville specific. Thanks.
And thank you, Councillor Wood. And the way I see it here is that the province, when they're suggesting a 25%, 75% split anyways in DCCs with the hope of attracting more development. It's just to me another convoluted half-baked solution proposed by the province, whereby as if they look at the city of Parksville and find out where our DCCs are and our cost charges. We've obviously hit the sweet spot by the amount of development we have going on there as well. So it's basically tell the province, Councillor Wood is saying, don't worry about the DCCs. We're already on target with that. We know what we're collecting for, and we don't want to change that. But at the same time, let us maybe consider the province in this case, can assist with paying a lot of those cost charges upfront and so forth for the infrastructure that we're trying to get from our developers, which we will continue to do so, and we've done successfully. So why break anything that's not needing fixing? To your comment as well as this Parksville specific, I read in it fully that this is clearly an AVICC and UBCM resolution and is for all communities, but it just mentions such as the city of Parksville. So actually waving the flag that if you want a good example, maybe you should give our planner a call. So I will be in support of this resolution. Anyways, so any further questions, comments? Councillor Grants, go ahead.
Yeah. It's okay.
Councillor Martin?
Well, when we, with the housing, the situation with the province telling 16 communities, they should change their housing situation. We were not included in that. We were not. So
Right.
what is, does this have something to do with that? I mean, why would we bring this forward when we weren't even asked by the province? Anyway, as I recall,
This
Yeah.
is, that's a different issue. Quite honestly, that like the 16 communities out there saying that we need more housing.
yeah, they were
It
told.
Really is a different. I think Councillor Wood's direction here is for the whole province anyways to be recompensate for the amount of fees that we are faced with day in, day out with promoting all the development that we have.
Okay. I was thinking that the more we're not wanting to have the provincial government deal with our community, and we keep on going back and forth here. We might have them come back and tell us more what we have to do. I was just thinking better to keep us under the radar, not in the radar. You know what I'm saying? With the provincial government.
I'm just rereading Councillor Wood's, where it says the province would establish a program that funds, reimburses, or directly delivers growth-related infrastructure that is currently available for DCCs.
Okay.
So that's the sweet spot to me, is like to have the province fund that. So that's not letting them in controlling us, it's letting them assist us to achieve what we are anyhow. But there's other communities that definitely are not as strong with turning permits around as we are. Councillor Grenz was next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Wood, for bringing this idea forward. I recognize the kind of good intention of providing some other directions for the province to consider if they're looking to help municipalities build more housing. This would be a bit more of a proactive way to help municipalities build more housing, or facilitate the construction of more housing in municipalities. That's probably a better way to put it, because after all, municipalities don't build housing. But the and Councillor Martin's point, I think is still good to bring in around housing targets, because if the province does come forward with housing targets for Parksville, for example, which we are apparently on the list to get them next, I would like to go back to them and say, well, what are the actual barriers to housing in Parksville? It's that you're saying that we need to increase our housing in Parksville specifically. So this might be one suggestion to them, to say you could maybe offer to help people with their DCCs. It does sounds like that is in the works. In terms of the resolution here, I'm thinking I'm not going to support it for going to AVICC. But I do think it's a good idea to give to the province if they come back to us with some housing targets.
Yeah, and my comment to that, Councillor Grenz, is I understand that too, like deal with that when it happens, but there's a lot of happened since the housing targets have come in place. And all you have to do is look at the Lower Mainland and the Okanagan, Kelowna specifically, that have overbuilt. And so what has happened at this particular point? I don't care how many targets you put on Kelowna, they're not going to build anymore because the developers are not going to step up. So do exactly what we did, is that we hit the sweet spot with our development and our turnarounds and our DCCs being reasonable. And let market decide. Market is deciding that Parksville is a good place to build for now, but there will be a time, very not too far away, I might add, that we're going to hit that saturation part. And I'll just give an example for apartments and rentals and so forth, market rentals. The province say they want a 4% vacancy rate. Well, if I'm a developer, I don't want a vacancy rate of 4% in the building that I just built, because the cost of financing these buildings and the cost of the buildings themselves are so great. So that's all nice of them to put that. That's where we want to achieve. You're never, if with a well-planned development community, you'll never get that. You'll get adequate apartment rentals. And then when the market decides that all those rentals are filled, then the market will decide, the developer will say, now that project's going to go ahead. But he won't do it before. So regardless of the targets they put on us, Kelowna or Vancouver, it's not going to happen if you don't have a developer that steps up, unless the province says that they're going to go in the housing business. And I don't think that's really well advised at this point. Let the market handle it, and they will. But don't overbuild. Like, look at Vancouver now. They're going the other way. They have negative growth. Yeah, where it's, there's a lot of different factors going on. So that's the market controlling that. And that'll happen here too, and that's great. But in the meantime, we're on a bit of a wave and it will end soon, I can tell you, just by the market. Just the banks won't loan money to if the developer's not getting a return, I can guarantee you. And that's why we're so busy, because we turn it around quickly. But yeah, it's coming. But I just say that the province can put any target, they can put anything on the list and say, you have to do this. Or what? What are you going to do, province? Seriously, stay out of our lane, let us do our business, because no one does it better than us. Sorry, a little bit of political comment there, but yeah, I've never backed away from that opportunity. Councillor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I guess I have a question for clarification from Councillor Wood, and perhaps it's just that I got a little lost in the whereases and therefores and resolves and furthers, but when I read this, my understanding or my question is, are you suggesting that the province covered the DCCs, or is it that the money is up front and that it would be repaid to the province? Because that's not clear to me reading this through, and that's probably on me.
Covered by the province up front, and then the developer ends up paying the DCCs later on.
Thank you, because I didn't see that in the resolution. So, thank you.
Would you like to comment on that, Director Wood? No, you're still councillor at this table. You're not a director. Okay. Different table. Okay, Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And I think similar to what Councillor Beal just mentioned, currently we have a system of the DCCs in place. I find it very simplistic, and it's pretty complex in the background with all the bylaws and whatnot. If somebody wants to build and we have rates set, and this is what we think the infrastructure upgrades are needed, plus the ACCs we can charge them for the amenities we think with the growth that's needed. Now we are adding another bureaucracy where the province would be responsible for paying upfront. The province that's already in deficit of billions of dollars, we're asking them to come up with funding these development charges. I know it's all hypothetical at this time, but what I think is we'll end up with all this development with no real infrastructure money and no amenity charges money. So I'm still quite reluctant to support this at this time. I think we have a system that works, offers a lot of flexibility. You can waive those for, like you mentioned, for certain groups. You can not raise the rates if that's an issue. You can raise the rates if you think you need those major upgrades for infrastructure. So I think the system works. For Parksville, it's not an issue, so I cannot support the resolution. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay, and Councillor Beal, you're next. No, you're done? Councillor Martin, did you have your hand up or not? Okay, yeah. So all the, and I don't disagree with that at all, Councillor Gore. I think that this resolution is more hypothetical than it's symbolic, and so yeah, I too, I think it's good in itself of what it is, but it once again is involving the province to be part of it. So I like the conversation, but I too am happy with the system that we have right now that works, and to try and get the province involved anyways, and that's why I won't support it, but I definitely supported having the discussion here at the table. So, any further discussion on the resolution on the floor? Okay, all those in favor? Those opposed? Thank you. Great, thank you. Great conversation, folks. Really good. It's great when you have so many participating in the housing because it's so complex. So thank you for that, everyone. Motions from previous meetings. The next second motion from the previous meeting is regarding Councillor Wood, regarding the EMO emergency weather activation response. Councillor Wood, I'm not sure the recommendation is the request a staff report at the next council meeting summarizing. Well, maybe I'll let you introduce it first, and then I'll I'm not sure I understand the intent here, but go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. There's a lot of mic time for me. This is just a recommendation that council request a brief staff report at the next council meeting summarizing the most recent EMO emergency weather activation and response. Just a brief staff report. That's all that the notice of motion is asking. Thanks.
Is there a seconder for that? Okay, second by Councillor Gore. Councillor Wood, if you want to, or you want anything more? Okay. I just have a question anyways, is that we request a staff report regarding the most recent EMO emergency weather activation and response. Well, we haven't had any activation or response yet. And what if there is none? Is that what you want to report to say there was none? Is that what you're looking for? I'm not sure what you're looking for. Yeah.
Through the mayor to yourself, Mayor. Well, I believe from my understanding that staff does have a plan. I don't think we've hit that temperature yet, and maybe we don't this winter. But I think the public might be interested to know that staff on the operations side do have a plan. If that is the case, but council hasn't been presented with one. And so I thought I would just give staff an opportunity to do that.
Well,
Thanks.
let's do that right now. The CAO Kaler, could you advise us if there's a plan for emergency weather activation and what that looks like? Thank you.
Sure.
Sorry to put you on the spot here. But
That's okay. We did actually have an activation for flooding last week, but that was led by the RDN and supported by our staff. So
good point.
I know that you didn't have clairvoyant image of that happening, but so I guess I'm not sure if this is what Councillor Wood is looking for, but there's a few different weather emergencies that we are involved in through our emergency management program. This time of year, there tends to be a focus on kind of the shelter and overnight cold weather response, but there's many other things that we do, such as, I guess, a good example, the flood that we experienced on Martindale area this last week, I guess. We also have response to extreme heat. So maybe a high level discussion around kind of the EMO responsibility for now might be where I'll start. And you can wave at me if I'm going the wrong way. So local governments are required by statute to have emergency management response to a very large range of hazards. In Oceanside, we work directly with the town of Qualicum Beach in a partnership to deliver emergency response to the Oceanside area. And we have an informal partnership with the Regional District of Nanaimo, where we work very seamlessly together. We plan together, and we realize that usually when there's something affecting one of our cities or the electoral areas, it affects all of us, and we need the support of each other's staff to actually deliver a response. So we have one staff person identified as an emergency program coordinator. The town of Qualicum Beach also has an FTE for that, but some cities don't have anyone. They just have kind of off the side of their desk, a manager kind of tapped with that. Other cities have departments that are dealing with that. So if you're in like an Abbotsford or Vancouver, you have probably a department with lots of resources. So it varies, but we are required by legislation to have a plan. And the plan varies depending on your resources and the facilities in your area and how many people you have and what kind of providers you have in your community to help as well. So I think Councillor Wood is maybe more thinking, just given that it's winter, around the winter stuff. So I'll focus on sort of where that has been in the last little while and what our plan would be if it was not the mildest, nicest winter we've had in a long time. So from an emergency management perspective, we rely on the provincial government to actually state that there's an emergency. So they have an extreme weather alert system, and we basically rely on somebody from the province. It can be the medical health officer, it can be the like somebody from the extreme weather EMCR, what does that stand for? Emergency Management Climate Readiness Ministry. They will often tell us when there's like a weather alert. And then we also, our EPC will monitor the Environment Canada weather just so that we know if it's going to hit those, what we call the temperature thresholds. In Parksville, the threshold for extreme cold is -4 degrees, but there's also some nuances around that you don't really need to know the nuances, but it's like for a certain period of time and projected to be also a very cold temperature kind of for days on end. So our staff have those things laid out. And when the emergency is declared, we then activate our response. And so there's a number of different things that communities can do under that response. There's a regulation that says kind of what you can do, when you can do it, what temperature you can activate on. And then there's funding that comes from the Emergency Management Ministry. And it is only available during that emergency. So you can only, if it's -4 for 3 days, you only get funding for that response for those 3 days. And you have to get approval in advance to make sure that whatever you're asking for is eligible. It's doing that weird thing again. And so for us, when the temperature reaches the threshold, we usually kind of in the fall or earlier if possible, we identify who in the community from a social service provider perspective can staff a resource for us. And then whether it's in the regional district, the city of Parksville, or the town of Qualicum Beach, that respective government staff person takes the lead on doing the paperwork side of it. But all three partners staff work together seamlessly throughout. So like our staff person and the RDN staff person might visit the site where this response might be. They interview or work with the providers as a team. They put out the calls as a team. So it really is a very collaborative process. If and when a property is identified that can host, mostly what we have been able to do is an overnight warming space. So there's daytime warming spaces available in public facilities. A couple of social providers have also opened their doors more in the extreme heat to give people access to cooling during that emergency. But for us as the city, town, and RDN, we've been able to offer overnight for a period of 12 hours, and that is required by the ministry as well. We can't do 24 hours under this program. So we can do 12 hours of emergency warming space, which is intended for every member of the community. It's not targeted towards any group. There's no support for any like high need group or anything. It's really just a place where someone can circulate in, warm up. We are allowed to provide warm drinks, but not food. And we are not allowed to have someone lie down or sleep in that space. It is not a shelter overnight bed. It's a warming space that can be daytime, can be nighttime, but we don't provide the daytime because we feel like there's already options, and we have very limited social service provider capacity. And the priority has been the overnight space for the last couple of years. So we do have a plan in place for each year. We have been fortunate to be able to get a location each year, but we don't provide that publicly until we're activating for a number of reasons. Security, public opinion. We don't necessarily want the people who are stepping forward and offering to help to have misunderstandings with their neighbors around what that would look like. And sometimes it changes. So we have a 6-month season. We sometimes have a provider for the first 2 months who can offer their space or their staff, and that changes throughout the season. So if you can imagine, if you're a church facility, December is a very busy time. You've got Christmas events and you've got all kinds of things happening. So some of those folks come forward and they can't offer it for the whole time, but they can offer for a period of time. And we always try to have a backup. So it's, a lot of moving parts. It's always absolute chaos a few days before the temperature drops. But we do have providers that we have kind of an agreement with in principle where they give us a plan. Our staff proactively reach out to the staff at the EMCR ministry and say, here's what our plan looks like. We are going to do X, Y, and Z. Sometimes they tell us to amend that and they say, we're not going to fund this thing. So you have to figure out another way. One thing that has been interesting over the last few years is EMCR has told us that they want one location because we've had multiple locations in the past and they don't believe, and none of them have really maxed out in terms of their capacity. So we've been advised to pool those resources, I guess, if that's the way to see it, and have one location that serves this region. We also have outreach, again, through the social provider, and that can be for people who are in their home but don't have adequate heating, or people who are housebound for, say, we have a big heavy snowfall. So we have wellness checks through, usually it's the same provider, but sometimes we have multiple providers. Last year, I think we had 3 social providers that we worked with and they all did slightly different things. And then we also have some folks who on a yearly basis will provide things like supplies. We are actually not allowed to fund the supplies, but we can get funding for someone to give out the supplies. So they won't let us buy toques, but they'll let us pay someone to hand out toques that are donated from somewhere else. So it's extremely complex. And our staff are really well versed in figuring out what's eligible and, you know, who can do what and where, why, how, and when. I guess the other piece around it is like a seasonal shelter or a seasonal response is under a completely different ministry and is not, in many cases, not initiated by a city. There's a couple of cities that have taken this on where they have an extreme issue with encampments or very high volumes. And so those are the exceptions, but like the city of Victoria, city of Vancouver, and a couple of northern communities have actually petitioned BC Housing to help them, and they've formed partnerships. But we meet with BC Housing very regularly, and we actually asked them the question of how often is a city the lead, and they said not usually. Like it's usually a social provider that has space and capacity and properly trained people who can provide ideally the year-round space, because that makes it a lot easier, you can imagine, than having staff for 6 months of the year or having a building for 6 months of the year. So in Nanaimo, for example, a much bigger city, there are quite a few folks that have their own buildings and they provide year-round shelter, overnight beds, and that's funded by BC Housing. During an emergency, they can access supplemental funding. If say they had 100 beds and they needed 20 more because it was really, really extreme weather, those 20 beds can be funded from that EMCR ministry. So there's a way those folks can access that supplementary funding during a weather event, not for the whole season. So there's two almost, parallel, I guess, two different processes for supporting homeless folks who are affected by homelessness. But the warming space is really not targeted towards people who are experiencing homelessness. It's to anyone in the community that has inadequate heating, or maybe the power is out. Like we've actually had the most kind of visitors to our warming spaces when the power was out over the Christmas holidays a few years ago. And we had a multi-day warming space in Qualicum Beach's Civic Center. And there aren't services there. You go in, you charge your phone, you get maybe a cup of tea, and then you go out. Whereas a shelter is often much higher support. And there's laundry facilities, there's counseling sometimes, there's meals, and someone can actually, they're given a bed. So they're quite different programs. And the shelter program is really nothing to do with the weather. It's just either a year round in the bigger cities, or it is seasonal when the weather is cooler, but it doesn't have to be extreme. It doesn't have to be -4. It can be like it is now. So they're very different programs in some respects. And then the City of Parksville's partnership with EMO has allowed us to provide coverage as well. So if one of our, given, we only have one staff member, if that staff member happens to be on vacation, or it's the Christmas break and they're back east visiting family, we have coverage and backup with the other 2 local governments. And then it's a matter of like how to activate. The other part, I suppose, for City of Parksville specific that I'll mention is the City of Parksville does provide extended hours during the daytime in this building, so that the 12 hours where the overnight warming space are provided is supplemented by extended hours here. So there isn't an hour or 2 where there's nowhere for someone to be. So this council actually brought that in, and we get coverage for the extra security to keep this building open for a few more hours when those events are happening. We don't really get any other, we don't provide anything else other than have the building be publicly accessible. I think that's everything. There's regulation around all of that right now. The warm and cold temperatures, the duration that it has to be happening, and then the eligibility of what we're allowed to actually apply for. And we're really the broker of the funds. So the city takes applications from the providers. We submit on their behalf to the provincial EMCR ministry, and then we give them back the money. So it's really a kind of a flow through. So our staff aren't doing the work directly. They're not providing the service. They're really just facilitating the provision of that service through that third-party social service provider who is appropriately trained and has the staff resources overnight to do that.
That was just a short report.
So it's very complicated and very confusing for everybody, I will completely admit.
It shows you what a complex issue it is. And the other comment I was just making, thank you for that, CAO Kaler, is that during the extreme weather events that did happen down on Martindale, our staff was down there with their volunteer team anyways at 6:30 in the morning. So most of us, except for Sean, of course, was still in bed, you know, but he's up at 5 o'clock. Anyways, he's with the birds. Anyways, and so they did an amazing job with Aerosmith Search and Rescue as well. Anyways, formed part of the team that activated that time, and it was very well managed. So Councillor Wood, I ask if you need any further report to satisfy your request here.
Thank you, Mayor. That's great. One thing that I found always find interesting is that the city is rarely the proponent in the world of, say, BC Housing or shelters, and BC Housing can be the proponent, or a service provider can be the proponent. That's one of the biggest takeaways after listening to the CAO's excellent report.
CAO, go ahead.
Thank you. If I may, just on that point, that we did have an example of that where BC Housing partnered with the provider Island Crisis Care to put Orca Place in place. And the city received the zoning amendment applications for that process. So there's local and somewhat recent evidence of that, but it's many cities have that type of program going on right now where BC Housing and a provider are the applicants. And they're working with local governments as approval agencies for the zoning or the OCP amendments or whatever it might be. So you just have to look through CBC, and there's a lot of examples of that. And the city of Parksville has experienced that as well.
Thank you for that. Then what's on the floor now? Councillor Wood, I'll ask if you would be willing to withdraw your motion.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, thanks, Mayor.
Councillor.
Thank you. Through you to our staff. Thank you, Kiva, for more than a brief report on this. And I think the information that was provided about extreme weather response is very thorough. However, I think the issue in Oceanside is lack of that overnight shelter, a warm place for people to go when it's not -4. Being back from -40, I can tell you this cold is very different. This is very cold. It's still very cold out there. It may not meet the threshold for the extreme weather response. So I want to know if we've been working with BC Housing to identify those temporary winter shelter sites or extreme weather response shelter sites in Oceanside. I know the mayor of Qualicum has said that the Christian Fellowship Church worked for the 2 years, and now it's up to Parksville to do it. Are we working together with these agencies, with these local communities to make sure the weather does not need to be -4 for somebody to die, that we start activating those emergency weather response? Is there a plan to house people when it's still cold out there? Thank you.
CEO Kaler, go ahead.
Thank you. So yes and no. It's not the city's responsibility to develop shelters, but we do meet regularly with BC Housing. So, and we meet often as a regional group. So myself and the other 2 CAOs have had multiple meetings with the executive director of BC Housing. And we've had many discussions around Parksville's requirements in order to have, whether it be a year-round shelter or a seasonal shelter. And we've provided planning information. We've facilitated meetings with our staff around the technical side of what has to happen for that. Myself and the mayor have met with when the previous Oceanside Task Force on Homelessness chairs were in place. We've met with them to discuss the land use requirements for the city of Parksville specifically. Myself and the planning manager or director of planning have met with multiple individuals who are requesting that information, or building owners who are exploring what it would look like. Essentially, in the city of Parksville, a zoning amendment or a temporary use permit is required for a seasonal or year-round shelter to be in place. And that was actually a commitment of BC Housing many, many years ago. Things have changed or evolved, and obviously the province's funding models are different. We were advised by BC Housing this year and last year that there was no funding for a shelter in Oceanside. But they say that changes every year. So if a proponent comes forward, the advice or the recommendations that we as a staff put forward and that I know BC Housing put forward is apply early, ideally in March for the following winter season, because almost every local government has a land use process that is required, and that's many months. So it's not, you can't as a local government often just flip on a dime. Like even a temporary use permit is several months of processing time. So we have met with providers who provide the service in neighboring communities, or who have indicated that there might be a opportunity to provide it here and explain the land use requirements for our city. And I'm like 100% sure that the town of Qualicum Beach staff have done the same. And I believe the RDN staff also have, but I don't know. I haven't been in the meetings with the RDN staff and proponents, but I have with the town of Qualicum Beach CAO. So I think that's staff's role right now, is to provide the framework and the technical information to somebody who's willing to go through the process. And we also provide the context for the BC Housing folks. So there's a number of people at BC Housing that are the funding approvers for that type of service. And so we've connected a few people with those folks in the last few months.
CAO, you got promoted. Councillor Gore. Thank you, CAO. Councillor Gore.
Thanks, Mayor, through you to Kiva. Thank you. I understand all the work that the staff's been doing, but I can tell you, it feels like Oceanside, there's reluctance to kind of solve this problem of overnight shelters, whether it's at the government level, whether multiple stuff. We do not have an overnight shelter in Oceanside because there is nobody who wants to actually address this. And I understand a lot of the problem comes with the addictions and the mental health issues that come with the unhoused population. I understand that. We've experienced that ourselves. With the province going into the direction of whether it's involuntary care, whatever they want to do with the safe supply issues, they're scaling back, whatever. I think there is still a large population that's unhoused, that simply needs a warm place to be overnight. And for us, walking away from this every year, every winter, seems like we're doing a huge disservice, not to just who are unhoused, but also in the areas where they seek shelter eventually because of lack of an overnight shelter, whether it's Inclusion Parksville, we get complaints from, whether it's the city hall that people have to go seek shelter overnight because it's so cold out. People sleeping in their vehicles and in the parking lots. So I think we need to sincerely make an effort. When I see news from BC Housing says that it is working closely, and I'm quoting from the news article, that it is working closely with communities in the Oceanside to identify suitable sites for temporary winter shelters and extreme weather response shelters. Seems like we do not want to meet BC Housing at the table to problem solve this issue. There's a lot of disappointment at this table and also in the community where people have nowhere to go overnight. Thank you.
CAO Kaler, you're going to comment?
Yeah, I think maybe have to be cautious about how I phrase this, but that's not staff's role. So staff does not have direction from council. RDN staff do not have direction from the RDN board, and the town of Qualicum Beach staff do not have direction from their council to do anything else. And that's not our city's, it's not the staff's role. So we work with BC Housing to provide them the information around how, if they have a proponent and they have somebody they're willing to fund to offer a shelter, we have provided them the steps from the city of Parksville's approving perspective that they need to follow. And it is exactly like I mentioned, for the city of Parksville, a zoning amendment or a temporary use permit. We have not received an application from BC Housing or a proponent for the last 7 years for anything. So the council hasn't really accepted or denied or rejected or been asked to consider anything. So city staff have provided at least a dozen, if not more, properties that we suggested might be suitable over the years, and we never received any response from BC Housing. But in defense of BC Housing, they need a proponent to ask them to put like a proposal forward and ask them to fund it. So I don't think it's a city staff initiated thing. We are facilitating the land use piece of it under council's direction. And that's all that we can really do without a different direction from council.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna wind this up right now because we're way off the table when we were having a much larger discussion. So back to the motion that's on the floor. Councillor Wood, would you be willing to withdraw your motion if we're looking for a report?
As far as I'm concerned, I kind of have a check mark beside my motion because we received the staff report. So
right,
I'm willing to do whatever you'd like, Chair.
So I would say if you, then we don't even have to vote on it. You just withdraw your motion because your report has been sent.
Motion to receive almost.
Okay. How about a motion, change your motion to receive?
Yes, please.
Okay, good. All those in favor, we already have it moved and seconded. Do you agree with the amendment? Okay. Yeah, okay, thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. Those opposed? Oh, that passes unanimous. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, CEO Kaler, for that very extensive explanation. It's a very complex subject. Councillor Gore, you had a notice of motion. The first one regarding in the agenda is showing as defend North Coast tanker ban and protect BC's coast. We've had a discussion before the meeting suggesting that you may want to alter that slightly instead of recommendation for Parksville. You wanted to alter it to another format to AVICC or something like that. Is that correct?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I would like it to be an AVICC resolution. I think it will be more impactful if it comes as an AVICC resolution. So either this meeting or if the CEO suggests maybe the next meeting, we can discuss this in a proper format for an AVICC resolution.
If I may, there's a time sensitivity in that the AVICC cutoff is before our next meeting. So I think this has to be voted on today if council wants it on the AVICC agenda.
That's what I would like to, yeah, thank you.
But this motion here?
Yes.
Okay, so you're taking out all the reference to the city of Parksville. Okay, so council, are you aware of that? The Councillor Gore wants to put it through. Does that work, CAO?
I'm sorry if I may, Mr. Mayor, through you. So the motion does ask that the mayor write letters.
No.
Number one, so should we be replacing number one, like the kind of preamble around writing letters to the minister, prime minister, ministers of environment and all that with forwarding it to AVICC? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so there's no reference to city of Parksville to it. It's just you wanting to make this resolution for AVICC. Is that correct? So you're asking us as from city of Parksville to endorse what you're saying here to go to AVICC?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a seconder for the motion that Councillor Gore has now explained that he wants to do? Seconded by Councillor Beal. Okay, Councillor Gore, anything further?
So just to give a little background to council, so this was intended to be a AVICC resolution. In my email, I think to the CEO, it got lost in some translations there. But I just want to give a little background why this is being brought forward. As a coastal community, I think we may not be physically in that tanker ban zone, but as a coastal community, we are connected. And whether it's the migratory routes of all the marine animals and all the species that are affected by lifting of this ban, I think it's imperative on us to be bringing this forward as a larger forum as AVICC. Just a little background, I think some of you might be aware this was brought forward in 2019 by the feds. It covers the area from the tip of Vancouver Island to just the border between Canada and Alaska. And the intent was to remove the heavy tankers that carry bitumen and the heavy oil that is really hard to clean and can affect the marine mammals. Currently, the federal government has mentioned that they might be looking at removing this ban, so it can have very significant consequence for the ecological health of that area and the marine mammals. So I'm looking for support of this council so we can bring it to AVICC and keep the ban in place. This ban, just so you know, is not a blanket ban on the tankers. It already allows shipments below 12,500 tons. There's other areas if they're also carrying petroleum products, those are already allowed. It's just asking for the heavier tankers with bitumen and that heavy oil going into crude oil going into that strait, into that waterways. I guess it's going to have negative impact. That was the reason it was put in place. I think there was a lot of advocacy from coastal communities and First Nations in the first place that eventually led to the ban be put in place. So, thank you.
Thank you. Just upfront, I understand this is your personal opinion, of course, Councillor Gore, and which you're obviously entitled to, but I don't think it's appropriate for the city of Parksville to propose this at the AVICC as if it's this council's recommendations to put this through, and with all of its nuances that it's prescribing in it. It's placing a whole bunch of conflicting opinions against each other, and there's so many things that are playing into this that I think it's inappropriate for us to propose it. I think that you as a citizen of Canada have the absolute response to send it directly to the provincial government and the federal government if you wish as an individual, but to use it from a councillor position of the city of Parksville with the city of Parksville name behind it, I think is irresponsible and is just not in your lane, so to speak, to put this through. You absolutely can, because you really don't have since you're representing the people of the city of Parksville, do you really know that you have the full backing of the people of Parksville to have this put through on behalf of the city of Parksville? Just my thoughts. It's inappropriate. I understand totally your beliefs, and I respect that. But at the same time, I think all of us have the responsibility to identify our own feelings on the tanker ban and goods not and pro or not. So I believe that that's up to us to identify that, but not as your position as councillor. Councillor Wood, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Through yourself to the councillor. I'm questioning the wording. We were supposed to, the resolution is for the mayor to write a letter. Are we asking AVICC to write a letter to UBCM, to write a letter to FCM, to write a letter to the Prime Minister, or what is your AVICC motion as a point of order? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Nobody's writing a letter. This is supposed to be an AVICC resolution similar to the second one, same format. I don't have the exact wordings. It was supposed to be, like I said, got lost in the email traffic, but two whereases and then a therefore. So
maybe a point of order, actually.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Point of order.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Grants. Point.
Do we have council consent to debate this since it's substantially different from what was on the agenda? I came prepared to speak to what was on the agenda, and this is sounding, first of all, very not clear what we're debating, and secondly, it's clearly not what was on the agenda. So I don't know that this is even in order, unless we all have a vote to take it today.
Yeah, no, and I agree 100%. It's changing as we're moving here. So I think the only attempt that we wanted to have a discussion was this because of the deadline on AVICC. But that's going to come and go. But in the meantime, I agree. I think it's inappropriate to be even on the agenda anyways, but I wanted at least Councillor Gore to have the opportunity to discuss it at the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone else? Councillor Gore, you've spoken already. Councillor Martin, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Myself, I was thinking when I was reading this that and I'm just sharing this because I'm wondering, because of the deadline for AVICC, that it would be better coming from a coastal community that's on the other side of the island. We have lots of people at the AVICC that have, councils that this would be really a concern for them. So when we do it in that way, because it's a bit of a delay here because of our deadline, could Councillor Gower bring the other communities into this when he's presenting it at AVICC? That's all. That was because that's the communities that would be more affected than we are in the Inside Passage, right?
There's more than the communities on the coast that are affected one way or the other. There's a.
But at AVICC, there's only the island people at AVICC. That's why, and there's Tofino, Ucluelet, all those councils. That would be right up their alley, I would think.
Well, if they thought if they thought it was appropriate, I'm sure that they'll be bringing that to the AVICC.
But because we already have this here, maybe, is it possible that we could put it through and then Councillor Gower could put that across? You wouldn't do that. Okay,
That's
just an idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I confess I hadn't memorized the deadline because for some reason I thought it was February 13th that things had to be in. And so I did think that there was one more council meeting because when I did first read this on our agenda, my thought was that, first of all, it's like, well, I could be writing this myself as a personal, but then I also did think this would be something that one could bring to AVICC so that it could be discussed there. And I think that it would be of great interest for, obviously, for the island and coastal communities. But if we can't make that deadline, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to this off the top of my head, but is it possible to bring forth a resolution from the floor at AVICC? Can someone here answer that?
Right.
It is possible with enough support within AVICC.
And that would be.
Follow up. So if we can't get to the bottom of this right here and right now, then I would certainly like to encourage Councillor Gore and anyone else to bring that forth at that time, because I do think it is of interest, of course, to coastal communities, and we're part of that.
Yes, and I agree with the suggestion that off the floor, as Councillor Grant has mentioned, with appropriate support, it would happen at AVICC. So that way you have to convince your other colleagues at AVICC to do an off the floor resolution.
Correct. Thank you.
Yeah. Which is exactly what it would be. It'd be those people that are interested, right? And not coming from the city of Parksville. Right. Okay, so CEO Kaler.
Apologies, Mr. Mayor. So we do have an ability to put something on the February 5th. The deadline is the 12th. Sorry, February 2nd. But we do need time to put it together. So staff had asked if possible to have the items that we are identifying, but there is a possibility, if it's only the one motion, even easier, that we could entertain an amended motion at the February 2nd. And still make the deadline if staff prioritizes doing we have to do a whole bunch of formatting and then submit it through their portal. So we don't like to leave it that close, but we can accommodate it if council needs to.
So amended motion.
Yes, if Councillor Gore wanted to put an amended motion on the February 2nd agenda, we could work with him over the next little while, and he could work with you as council to still make the AVICC deadline. If you wanted to.
If it's passed.
Exactly, yeah. If it's passed we have one more opportunity, I guess, for discussion on the 2nd. And if council was in favor of that, it could still be submitted by the 12th, which is the deadline.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm in favor of that. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll withdraw the motion on the floor today. Would you like to do that, or is it? Because you've made a motion here that's on the agenda, then you amended the motion to say that it was ABIC, you changed the wording, or would you just like to withdraw your motion with the understanding that you're going to submit a new motion to? And we'll consider this as notice of motion that you're going to.
Yeah,
Okay.
so thank you, Mayor, through you to CAO. Whatever wording you like, do you need direction from the council? We would like to have it on the next meeting agenda as a ABICC resolution.
If I might suggest then, Mr. Mayor, that we withdraw. So Councillor Gore and Councillor Beal moved this one, but if we withdraw it wholesale, we can work on a clearer one to bring back on the written agenda. So it would be voted on or debated at the February 2nd agenda.
Perfect. Do you need a notice of motion to that effect or?
No, I think we can just withdraw it and
Okay.
it'll be put on the February 2nd notice of motion.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Gore, do you agree to withdraw?
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Beal, do you, as seconder, do you agree? Okay, it is withdrawn. Thank you. A comment? Yes? Oh, well.
And we've certainly seen a number of times when, due to a time constraint, there has been a motion that has been brought forth and voted on at the same time. So that's helpful too.
The next. Sorry. Okay, that was the first one on the North Coast. Councillor Gore, you have another one regarding the submission of resolution to 2026 Association via AVICC. Okay, it's a mouthful. Okay, so you would like to introduce us if you
Yes, thank you. So the recommendation is that Council of City of Parksville endorse the following resolution for submission to AVICC for consideration at the 2026 annual AVICC convention. Whereas volunteer and composite fire departments across British Columbia provide essential emergency services to local, often rural and remote communities, and rely on local government budgets to meet provincially required training standards. And whereas members of volunteer departments frequently pursue paid full-time firefighting positions elsewhere in the province, creating a mobility dynamic that benefits the provincial emergency system, but places training costs on local taxpayers. Therefore be it resolved that AVICC requests that the Government of British Columbia, 1, establish a provincial volunteer firefighter training fund to cover the costs of provincially mandated training for volunteer and composite fire departments across the province. And 2nd, encourage sustainable cost sharing options whereby the province covers a baseline percentage of training costs and local governments contribute a predictable matching share. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder for Councillor Gore's? Councillor Beal? Okay. Councillor Gore, do you want to widen the brackets a little?
I will, yes, thank you. So, yes, thank you, Mayor. And being a city that has a composite or a volunteer fire department, we've seen the reports from our fire chief quite often that we have this revolving door. So many volunteers come in, they get trained. We have a couple of firefighters, volunteers at this table as well, and they can attest to that. And most people, when they get trained and they have the opportunity to find full-time paid job, they often leave the local departments very quickly. Training a firefighter as any other, protective services, it's a lot of money that's spent, and the money is all spent by the local taxpayers, property taxpayers like you and I. And it can be anything upwards of $13,000. If you were in Atlantic Canada, actually, you have to go to a college to become a firefighter, and it's about $13,000 that you have to pay tuition and everything to get trained. And we are seeing the diversity in the roles of the firefighters as well. They're not just fighting structured fires, they are getting involved into the wildfires. They're involved in emergency response when it comes to medical MVAs, motor vehicle accidents and stuff. So there's a lot of dynamic work that the firefighters are doing. So my intent here is to bring it to the province that we are doing all this training standards that the province puts, that you have to meet this, you have to have all these certifications to become a certified firefighter in BC. And so we want the province to actually fund that training. And I had the opportunity through our CAO to get some feedback from Chief Norris on this resolution. A bit skeptical as he was of the province ever funding a program like this, but he does support the resolution in principle, especially because I think the UBCM provides a grant, which is for equipment and training, as per the UBCM website and as per our Chief Norris. This program is not slated to continue in the next year, this year and forward. So it becomes even critical to tell the province why this core funding for training is essential. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for your support on, and hopefully at AVICC as well. Thank you.
Yeah, comments? So all that I can suggest is that really the volunteer firefighter department program all throughout Canada and so forth works on the premise that you're taking people with zero firefighting experience and you are giving them training to become firefighters. And it's always, this is as you say, the training ground for them to become, a lot of their cases is full-time firefighters at other operations. But what you're getting is you're getting people willing to fight fires on almost a volunteer basis and so forth. And that's the understanding. It's almost like a working apprentice program. It's the same idea, is that you're getting people to fill that void without going to firefighter school and just saying, give me like 25 graduates and send them to Parksville, because then that'd be at full firefighter wage portion. In this particular case, the way it's worked out very well, the individuals get the training from the cities or the municipalities anyways to become firefighters. And then when they get to a certain certification level, then they start applying to go to the other halls, which is and that's not everybody get it. There's some people that are community volunteers that actually stay and they have no intent of going to the next level of firefighting. So that's how it's kind of worked. I'm not sure that the province would be willing to step up to it. I'm somewhat share Chief Norris's skepticism at this particular point, but at the same time, yeah, I just want to make sure that you understand where the volunteer and the training comes from. It's one and the other, chicken and the egg, right? What comes first, the experienced firefighter or the one that needs to fight fires? Anyways, so any other comments at this point? Councillor Martin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When this was being presented here, I was thinking of the Justice Institute, and they do excellent training there for many things. And if the province could get involved, this institute's there, possibly that'd be a way to get some of the training done for certain people. I don't know if it's at the volunteer level, but that might be good for the volunteers to be able to have a course they could take at the Justice Institute. So I don't know if that has because I was a governor there and I know it's excellent. And so does that have anything relative to this subject? No? It could go somewhere though, couldn't it?
If you think so, sure.
No?
Yeah. Councillor Wood, go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. And to Councillor Martin's point, the JI does do courses with volunteers across the province, and it's picked up by property taxes to send the firefighters to the JI or for JI certified instructors to come to the community and train. So the JI is involved. It's just that property taxes are paying for it, to Councillor Gore's motion. I'll for sure support this. This is great. I don't think that the province is going to directly fund, and that's why we're trying to increase the tax credit, because then it's a little bit easier for them to fund by just not accepting a little bit of tax from the volunteers. And so it's easier on their books, on Minister Bailey's books. This will be harder on her books, but I'll definitely support it. And it'll go in the pile with many AVICC, UBCM, FCM resolutions where we're asking for upper levels of government for more funding, so it doesn't come from property taxes, which I always support. Thanks.
Councillor Beale, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yes, I too want to support this. And whether or not I'm optimistic that there will be much of a positive response from the provincial government at this point in time, I don't think there's ever any harm in raising the issue. And, you know, if we end up with at some point in time, a subsidy towards the training costs that we are covering, fantastic. And maybe if not this year, then maybe the next one, or maybe the one after that. But if you don't ask, you know, nobody needs to be aware of the issue, but it does impact us, and we feel that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Grant, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to Councillor Gore. Thank you for the noting the chief's support of this motion and this potential skepticism as well. Fair enough. To Councillor Gore's point, the province has a significant deficit right now, and it's highly unlikely that they're going to even do anything around this. Maybe they'll do what the federal government did, to Councillor Wood's point, around tax exemptions or tax perks. But I'm happy to support it, although maybe to Councillor Beal's point, if you don't ask, I think we're starting to realize that the AVICC and UBCM, that we have so many asks that AVICC and UBCM end up being maybe less effective, because it's just a whole laundry list of wish list items that the province can just dismiss most of or all of them, and maybe just ignore them because there's no focus on specific items. But from this table, we can take it there and then leave those problems for them.
And to that note as well, Councillor Grant, UBCEM as well as AVICs as I've already advised that they are starting a program of editing and not even taking it to the floor, because it's taken way too much time for they don't say frivolous resolutions, but no ones that have no chance of ineffective. And so they are doing that already. And so there's going to be a lot of them, because as you know, we don't even get through the rest of it. But I think that's okay. Myself, I don't support this, but I won't oppose it either. So I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Those opposed? That carries. Thank you. We're into overtime. Do we need, no, we don't need overtime yet. We're good. Okay. Any notices of motion for upcoming meetings? None? Okay. Liaison reports. Let's do reverse order today. Let's do the other side of the alphabet. Councillor Martin, you can start us off with you, please. Okay.
Anyway, let's see. The first one is the PDBA. I kind of alluded to this when I was talking about the different events that go on there. I wanted to report the third successful Happy Noon Year was approximately 275 attending. When I was pouring hot chocolate, I was talking to visitors and locals, and it was quite remarkable the number of visitors that were with their family at Christmas, and they were so proud of our little event. You could just tell the way the grandparents, it was quite remarkable. They're having a wonderful time, and this is the third year. Last year there was 250 there. So that does give you an idea of the effectiveness of this in a community space. So we talked about that today earlier too. So that's, you know, I must have served way over 100 hot chocolates. So with a helpful volunteer, we took turns. Anyway, and the Parksville Museum, they're open still every day except Tuesday and Wednesday. So from 12 to 4 every day. They've had up to 25 visitors on a day this fall in one day. So that's quite remarkable. You know, there's not many some days, but you know, that was good. The 28 artisans are still there. They provided a good shopping opportunity. In fact, I brought this. I don't know if this is just the idea. I think it's hilarious, but it's really kind of cute. It says, how to cook a husband. How to cook a husband. And it was from a 1927 cookbook from the museum. I know, and you can read all about it. But there was other than, I was quite taken with it. I bought one for my husband and other people did too. And I mean, it was from 1927, from a cookbook in the museum. So it was very relative to what was going on. So this is just the fun they're having. The board meetings are excellent, lots of happening. A past president has now come and joined the board again. So they're kind of attracting more people. So I think it's a great place and we have lots of future things to hear in a positive way in the museum. There you go. That's it.
Lots of future
Any
respecting the past.
Yes.
Okay.
But if you have any questions about either one of these, no. Anyway, I just find it, you know, the way it was before I was even a counselor and the way it is now is remarkable. So there you go.
Thank you. Thanks, Councilor Martin. Councilor Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I will actually skip over the Arts Council report for now because that was really left over from the time previous, and I'll be attending a meeting with them in the next couple of weeks. But I would like to mention the Access Oceanside Association. I attended a recent meeting and lovely to see a couple of people from that meeting here tonight. And I would like to just highlight three projects, if you like, that the group is working on. One is working on the website and it's really coming along. It'll be fantastic. So there was a preliminary look at the overall format and so on, but more work will be going into that project. I'd also like to mention that there is very keen interest in the bus, the transit amenities, improvements that our council is looking at, that the engineering department is looking into, and the Access Oceanside has sent a letter regarding that and highlighting some of the needs for accessibility at bus stops. I'd also like to mention Access Now, which is an app that people can download, which rates, if you like, it gives some feedback around how accessible different businesses are, whether they be hotels, restaurants, retail, and public buildings. And there's more work that will be going into that. But I want to highlight one discovery that was made regarding AI and AI hallucinations, for those of you who are familiar with that term. So with Access Now, locals in the Access Oceanside had gone around and had entered their findings on a number of buildings, and then AI generalized from that. And some of the results from AI were really quite interesting, such as the Jensen Center nearby, which according to AI had an elevator. Okay. And so apparently, you know, you look at photographs in any building that's over a certain height must have an elevator. Therefore, AI assumed that it had an elevator. And this was coming up first. Now, fortunately, the group had been looking at the comments that were coming up and discovered this, was able to contact the developers, and they have made efforts to correct that. And I will read this out because it really is I think it's worth noting. So the Jensen Center has received positive feedback from at least one Access Now user, which is the local group, who found it accessible. They highlighted numerous features, including accessible parking, an automatic door, a barrier-free entrance, a ramp, and so on. So they have actually made a point to repair the errors that were generated by AI. You can still call up AI. And so I just shared that because I think that if that's happening there, it may well be happening with other apps that people might be looking at. Anyway, it's an amazing group, the Access Oceanside, and they continue to do wonderful work focusing on projects that improve accessibility for everyone. And nods to them. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other unlisted reports or liaison positions or just things of interest? None? Okay. That's a loaded question, isn't it? Okay, I would like to say thank you for not needing to ask for an extension. Getting through the meeting, folks, everyone, thank you. Could I get a move or second for adjournment? Moved by Councillor Grant, seconded by Councillor Beal. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you. Good meeting.